This is The Gorge, the podcast where we all get together and talk about a specific topic.
Oh, right. It's one of these episodes, finally. The Gorge is brought to you by Patreon. That's patreon.com/thegorge, where for just $5 a month, you gain access to not one, but two entire podcasts. $5 gets you Takeout, a monthly commentary track where Ben, Saturn Oates, and myself get together, we watch something and talk over it. We most recently did Wizards, a movie that owns bones, as it turns out. It's
That's
insane,
right.
but it kicks ass, actually. So, it's extremely worth the $5. You should watch Wizards. Wizards is fucking good. It's
Ralph
weird.
Bakshi's Wizards is genuine best of the worst material.
It is the movie of all time.
Like I think I said it during the recording, but to me, Ralph Bakshi's Wizards is the ontological opposite of the high I get watching the '86 Transformers movie.
Yeah,
Where it's
absolutely.
like, oh, these are some good vibes, and I'm enjoying all this high quality animation. And then Ralph Bakshi's Wizards is like, these are vibes.
There is animation.
I'm
glad I have friends.
I'm having an unpleasant emotional conversation at like that specific poolside table on those shitty white plastic chairs while this movie's playing on a TV in the background.
It's the difference between having that conversation at like 6 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Yeah,
And having it with a friend or your friend's uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
It owns. So yeah, if you wanna know what we're talking about, that's patreon.com/thegorge. Oh yeah, there's also a $2 tier, and it's just like whatever else we feel like doing. Yeah, thanks.
All right, so it's been a little while since we've done one of these. It feels like.
Yeah, we really don't do these anymore unless it's for something special.
Yeah, but we were talking. We if you missed the stream somehow, we streamed all of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Because 3 of us are moochers who don't own PS5s.
Yeah,
So-
I should say that I streamed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
We were there and participating in the streaming of
that's
it,
right.
at least.
We were participating.
Wow,
we were paying attention. Yeah.
We
It's been
all
since
streamed
December.
Ben's copy.
We haven't done one of these since December when we did the
Yeah.
Venture Brothers. Wow, okay.
Wow.
Because like we mostly just do roundups now. And listen,
Yeah.
that's fine. Like,
That's fine.
It's Final Fantasy. We do it only for special occasions, and the Final Fantasy VII remake installments are in fact special occasions.
They're very special occasions.
They're extremely special, very important occasions. Yeah, no, we did all of Rebirth as a group. And it's an immaculate super game.
If you did miss those streams, they are being uploaded VOD by VOD on Ben's VOD channel, which he will plug the link of with wonderful thumbnail art drawn by our very own Sara Video Games.
That's me. I'm Sara Video Games, and I draw things sometimes when appropriately medicated, as it turns out. With enough amphetamine salts, you too can remember that you are an artist instead of just like kind of like a weird sad sack who makes t-shirts all day. You know? It's just how it is. But yeah, no, FF7 Rebirth is it's fucking weird, man. It's like really good, and also it's like an immaculate super game, but it's also just fucking weird, right?
They do a lot of things in this game that made all of us except for Saturn, who has not experienced the glory of Final Fantasy VII original flavor.
Not yet, anyways.
Go, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was what?
It's like it's the most. It just takes FF7 and it really does. Not to crib constantly from Tim Rogers, but I'm going to do that. It's just a video game that takes the concept of FF7 and just like luxuriates in it, right? Like it's just basking in the concept of FF7. It is more FF7 than Final Fantasy VII.
It really does feel like Nomura is trying to tell the version of Final Fantasy VII that existed in our memories.
Right.
While also occasionally throwing curveballs.
Just doing the weirdest shit, and it's just like it's just such a joy. Like there's so much of it that is just such a fucking delight, and it's delirious in its presentation at times.
By the way,
and occasionally incomprehensible.
I want to clarify real quick that like for the majority of this podcast, I'm going to be saying Nomura to represent the entire staff of Final Fantasy VII remake project, because like I know that there is not one person behind every single action of a game. And in fact, a lot of the decisions were made not by Nomura, and in fact, Nomura had to hold some of those decisions back.
Actually, funny enough, it was not even directed by Nomura, this one.
Yeah, he's like executive producer, so he's like Steven Spielberg did the first Transformers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's the guy who decides how the money gets spent.
That's right. And the actual director of the game, whose name fails me right now, did get, because this game did so well critically and commercially, apparently, he did get a promotion, so good for him.
Awesome.
He's now part of the Square Enix executive suite.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good for him.
So, which is great.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah, again, speaking with no really aside knowledge of the original FF7, aside from stuff that's been memed to death, it is kind of, like, I realize this is probably a very expensive game, at least as far as Square Enix is concerned. But every JRPG that releases is going to once again have to be compared to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that, like, Final Fantasy VII is intrinsically good or cool or whatever. Like, I'm sure it is. But they also just went, no, you can still make a psychopathic PS1 RPG in 2024.
Yeah.
You can still put 40 different minigames in this.
And God bless him for doing that.
Look, we did it. Why can't you?
Right.
FF16.
It's like, oh, come on, Square Enix. Come on. You can't do this. No.
Fantasy
listen.
They're never going to make another Tales game again.
No!
Listen, at the very least, we have Ryuga Gotoku Studios. They can also make JRPGs that cram a million different minigames into them.
That's true. Well, they just need to start making some of those be more anime, like aesthetically. So then I will buy them at full price at launch.
It is interesting because the more I was thinking about it, is that like the directorial difference between like Infinite Wealth and Rebirth is that they are both jammed full of minigames, but like Infinite Wealth will have a minigame that has its own built-in narrative and expands across the entirety of the RPG. Whereas Rebirth will have 10,000 minigames that take 15 seconds to complete.
It's like the WarioWare of JRPGs.
Yeah.
The thing is that Final Fantasy VII, at its zenith in the late 90s and early aughts, set a really high bar for all RPGs that everybody else meticulously and blatantly went, hey, see, we can be just as good as them. And now that it was time to remake it, we decided to go, well, we're going to set that bar again.
We're going to do it again.
Yeah,
they really did.
They absolutely set that bar again. And it's like, I can't think of any RPG, aside from like Baldur's Gate 3 as like the equivalent of that for like Western RPGs, right? Where it's like, there's just no... There's no comparison. No sane game studio can make a game that will compare just in terms of the breadth and depth and like production value of all the content in it.
And it's just like, to me, it's insane because it's like, it's not even just like no other studio can do it. It's like only one part of Square Enix seems to be willing to do it.
Yeah,
the Final Fantasy XIV team had their shot with FF16, and they decidedly did not do any of that.
They didn't fucking do it. No.
The gap of drip between 16 and 7 Rebirth is a chasm.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think we've mentioned
ocean.
it like in the streams, but it's like the difference between FF16 being kind of ashamed to be a JRPG and kind of leaning back on being a Game of Thrones Platinum game, right? And FF7 just going, You fools have forgotten what JRPG means.
FF16 does not have a Chocobo theme in it.
No.
FF7 Rebirth has like 4 Chocobo themes in it.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's just so dedicated to just being, to like Saturn said, recapturing the feeling of a PS1 JRPG, but with like more money than God behind it. And the thing is that like The craziest part of all of this is that this fucking thing was made on Unreal 5. Like, not 5, excuse me, on 4. They just made this fucking thing on Unreal 4 because they're like, yeah, we can just make video games faster this way. We don't need to use our in-house engine.
They tried that in-house engine for a while and made FF15 and Forspoken, and then they stopped making anything with it.
I think 16 is still on Luminous.
I think because FF16 is like, I know it's the FF14 people who don't work with Luminous, and then it's also Platinum who don't work with Luminous. So I don't think FF16 is Luminous. But I could be mistaken.
Platinum didn't work on 16 so much as Platinum and Capcom.
It uses CBU3 developed engine, not Luminous engine.
Okay, so that's presumably. I would assume that's. Oh no! Someone says it's an all new engine.
Yeah, it is a bespoke engine.
That's crazy to just use a bespoke engine.
Because 14 is also bespoke technically, but it's like a weird modified version of Crystal Tools. But FF16 is not that.
And like, that does make sense though, because you can tell there's like parts of it where you kind of get the idea that it's like they kind of stole a bit of the RE8 engine or RE7 engine and kind of like filed the serial numbers off. Because they did grab a bunch of people from Capcom specifically for this game.
That actually makes sense. But we're not talking about FF16 because it's a bad video game. We're talking about the good video game. Well, I wouldn't even call FF16 a bad video game. I call it a boring video game.
Yeah.
You know what isn't boring? It's fucking Rebirth, which is a video game that has things literally going on in it at all times. It's honestly at times a little overwhelming, and I wasn't even playing it.
We only got through that game in a reasonable 60 hours because we did pointedly just ignore basically any side content that wasn't Tifa side quests and like a quarter of Queen's Blood games.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we realized at some point that if we really engaged, because also we all do have Twitters, right? We've all got Twitter accounts. It's like, if we really engage on stream with all of the bones of FF7 Rebirth, it will take 200 streams to be done with this video game. And by then I will have been spoiled by everything on twitter.com. So after a certain point, you do have to take a step back and go, okay, for stream purposes, we're just gonna do the most important bits. And I think we still missed some. Like, I know the Photo Relic quests are
the Proto Relic stuff has like some depth in it, apparently.
Yeah, there's like plot in some of those. And we didn't finish Queen's Blood. We still want to do our Queen's Blood World Tour. Maybe one day we'll do Queen's Blood World Tour and also go back and do all of the Proto Relic quests.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that'd be fun.
But no, there were so many points in this game where I'm like, okay, but they're not really going to let us do that, right? They're not really, oh my god, they're letting us do that!
Yeah, they let you literally do everything. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just because my brain has been so melted by modern JRPGs that I was like, well, there's no way that the gold saucer is just going to be a giant luxurious mini game central, because that would be crazy.
There's no space for it.
We're in 9th gen, and they couldn't possibly do that psychotic shit now. And the answer is no. They actually have tripled down on it.
Yeah, actually.
They aren't possibly going to let me do the dolphin mini game, are they?
I didn't think we would do a dolphin mini game.
And then it becomes one of the most fun shines in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're not going to add even more layers of complexity to the Chocobo racing minigame, are they?
And then it is just Mario Kart with like items and
Mario
boost
Kart.
pads.
And also the fashions you can put your Chocobos in have statistical effects on your race performance.
That's right. So you can
because they're insane.
Because they're insane. So you can make your bird like the best bird who ever done birded, and you can play every single goddamn minigame in the gold saucer. You can run around and speak to the most horrible Chocobo, excuse me, the other one.
Moogles,
the most horrible looking Moogles I've ever seen in my entire life, and I hate them. And like, yeah, there's just so much. Every time we turned around, they were adding like some new like minor dumb video like mini game to the video game.
I think the thing that like set it in stone immediately when it was like, oh yeah, this game will not hold anything back from you. Like this is you are gonna get to do all the cool shit you wished you could have done. Is when the calm flashback starts and the truck gets stopped because there's a big monster on it, and we're all like, they wouldn't let it. They're not, and the camera pans around and it pans behind Sephiroth.
It's so fucking sick. Yeah, no, I'm really happy that the video game actually starts with the calm flashback because that's exactly how they should have done it. It's the way I wanted them to do it 4 years ago when the first one came out. It was, I think we even talked about it in that episode, Ben.
We did.
We did.
Wouldn't
it be so sick if part 2 starts in the calm flashback, and it's like, yeah, that would be sick actually. Yeah. Congratulations.
No more listen to the episode.
No more listen to the episode, judging by how much I personally was fan serviced by this video game. I think I actually follow me on Twitter.
You got so much Rufus content.
I know, I'm so happy. It's the best video game ever made.
Somewhere, Naoki Yoshida is scratching his head and he's talking. And he's like, it's weird. Nomura-san's been, really chatting me up lately, and for some reason he keeps begging me on hands and knees to put Xenos back into the video game. I don't know why. He's not really his type of character. I don't know why he's so enthusiastic about those.
It cuts hard to Nomura in his room, just like tweeting furiously on his phone, just like, if I post good, she'll pay attention to me. She'll wear the goth eyeliner.
That's right. If I pay enough attention and post good, maybe she'll get the Hime cut.
I was literally gonna say, he's just sitting there like, if I put Xenos in part 3 of Remake, she'll wear the Hime cut. She'll do it.
Just look forward to Kingdom Hearts 4 when the super boss is not Sephiroth, but it's Xenos instead.
That's correct. That'd be sick as shit. That actually would get me.
That would be the best way to do it at this point, though. Actually, is the thing, though. I'm not even joking. I want that.
No, I'm not even kidding.
I think Xenos would like to be in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, he would love
that. Have a really good time. Yeah, absolutely. But no, getting to play as Sephiroth fucking whips ass. Like, they're so... I love this video game despite, all of its jank. And by God, there's a lot of weird jank and shit in the game. But, it's just so good. It really is just so, fixated.
You are allowed to have areas of the game where the lighting shatters into a million pieces. If the rest of the game is good.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff. It does continue, just to get a couple things out of the way. It does continue the extremely annoying Final Fantasy VII Remake tradition of dungeons that were one screen now take 20 minutes, and after a while I'm like, we gotta wrap this shit up. Continues the tradition that every dungeon in Final Fantasy VII Remake 1 and 2 could be 20% shorter and nobody would notice, right? Nobody would be like, this feels really short and bad.
It's definitely helped by the fact that they keep doing this thing where the floor will collapse under half of the party.
Yeah.
And they split the dungeon up into two sections, or you're playing as two different groups.
It does seem very smart to me that they actually went for the thing of no, we're telling you what your party comp is for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just roll Cloud Air of Tifa the entire time. You do have to use these goods.
And I do like that it goes out of its way to deliberately split them up such that they kind of jumble around every time they do so.
Oh yeah.
Because it allows you to get character to character interactions that the original game never would have given you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The biggest and most important part of Rebirth is it is literally just we are going to brutally expound upon everybody's interactions with each other and their backstories and their interactions with the world, right? We are going to meticulously weave those out into proper character arcs and shit like that. In a really cool way, because this video game is a video game that is supposed to and we all knew it because it's what they told us 2 years ago. They're this video game ends at the end of disc 1, right? Whatever that means, this video game ends at the end of disc 1. So obviously the most important part of the video game is establishing everybody knowing Aerith very well And like the video game itself is extremely concerned with like getting to know Aerith. And like there's a bunch of other shit going on in the background too, but so much of it is kind of revolving around like, one, the big question hanging over everybody's head, and two, everybody interacting with a character who in the original game, like everybody interacts with her, but obviously just because of, I mean, the fact that two of the characters are optional, you don't have as much interaction. It's a much smaller video game. You know, you can beat the full plot of FF7 in the time it takes to beat just Rebirth. And honestly, that 60 hours would also get you doing a lot of side content too.
Right.
Like the original game is long, but it's not nearly as long as you remember as when you were a kid, right?
Exactly. And I think
no matter how good that original game is, Yuffie is a normal canon party member in this.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can't get away from her.
You can't get away from her.
As much as we would all like to.
Speak for yourself.
I honestly really like how much like Yuffie gets expanded upon, because obviously like you have to for her. Because if she's going to be like, if she's going to be a requisite character, she needs to have, you know, like interactions with everybody. But the other one that was also surprising to me was how much they expanded on Red 13.
Oh, I love it.
Because he's always been kind of like a sidekick minor character that if you prefer him or like him a lot, it's because you remember his one single moment that he has in Cosmo Canyon, and that's kind of all he ever has. His arc ends there, you know? Mm-hmm.
The direction they took Red 13 is probably one of the biggest highlights of Rebirth, to the point where it kind of reflects one of the overarching like minor changes in the story can have widening consequences, and I think that's exemplified in Red 13, which just he becomes a different character after Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah, he's like your cute little baby boy instead of like the cool one.
Yeah, instead of being the gruff, mysterious lone wolf, as it were, he is able to embrace himself as a kid and go with his innocent baby voice.
For pacing and story reasons, it is also right about the time we meet Vincent for the first time, which I think is really clever.
I actually think that's really cute. Yeah, because like we have like Red 13 functioning as the Vincent right up until we're 2 minutes away from meeting the actual Vincent, and then Red 13 gets to be like himself, right? He gets to just be like the fun, cute, like, you know, he's like an overeager teenager who's just desperately trying to be cool. He's Junie, right?
I do hope in the next game we get Vincent and Red 13 having that personality type off, though.
A stoic off?
Yeah, who can be gruffer?
Yeah. Who can be more stoic and mysterious? I mean, to like hold back answers?
Who can brood more in the background? And the answer is the answer is neither of them. It's Cloud in the corner looking like Sephiroth.
I think in the terms of sounding gruff, I think Vincent takes it on notion of being voiced by Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
The problem is that they have this gruff off. They lose Vincent because he just sort of wanders off and like assumes that they'll find him, and they never do.
Right.
And then Red 13 gets really sick because he's trying to make his voice more gravelly, and so he eats a bunch of silica gel packets.
Don't let the dog eat.
And then you gotta take the dog to the emergency vet. It costs $170 because the dog ate an entire stuffed dragon.
The funny thing about Red 13, this game kind of exemplifies it, is that Red or Nanaki hates being treated like a dog, right? Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, he is a dog. Usually, when this kind of plot point happens, I'm thinking of like Morgana, right? In Persona 5, where it's like he's insistent that he is not a cat, right? Or it's like they have been transformed into an animal, but they are not actually an animal. No, Red is a dog.
He is a dog.
He is actually a dog.
Like,
he's got sort of a cat face and a hyena mohawk, but he is a dog.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it is okay to treat him like a dog because that is what he is.
And he likes
don't call him a good boy. He doesn't like it that much, but
he
does like getting scratched behind the ears.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can throw a ball and he will turn his head and they go, "Hey."
It's kind of like distracting, like it's distracting a Mikote with like a laser pointer.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same. It's the same principle.
But no, I think out of the three, I think out of everyone in the party or in the game, the three characters that have benefited the most from being put in Rebirth are Red 13, Barrett, and Elena.
Yes, Barrett and Elena are especially because, like we said before, like Elena is like, she's just in the original game, she's just the dumb go-getter rookie. She's just like way too overeager, and she has a crush on Sung that like goes nowhere. Right?
She was the spoof on it's my first day at company and I'm gonna do great. You know, before you know the corporate world of Japan beats the soul out of you with hammers.
Right.
And the comedy therein of like her in the original, she was significantly more of a fail girl. Like there was a lot of slapstick involving her literally not being able to do anything.
Right, because she's new, and like the other two, like the other three, but specifically Rude and Reno, are like, no, we're just on the clock. We're the cool guys, and we don't care if we're not getting paid. Right, like we don't give a shit if we're off the clock. Right. And then in Rebirth, they're like, but what if Elena was just kind of like a stone cold bitch?
What if she bedazzled her Uzi?
Yeah, she's got she spray painted her gun pink and bedazzled it. She's just kind of a bitch. She kicks grenades at the party. Does she call Tifa a slut? Am I misremembering that? Or does she call her a whore? One or the other.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing. They're just like, no, it actually is way funnier if Elena sucks, but is still like extremely competent. And then she does her fucking team up boss battle with Sung, and it's like, God damn,
and they have synchronized moveset.
Synchronized moveset.
They practiced that.
They had to have practiced that.
There is no normal or professional explanation for people being able to fight in sync like that.
No, that's the thing, is like,
it just means they're drift compatible.
Original game Elena, if you told her, like, you have a boss fight where you fight with Sung and you guys have like synchronized movements, she'd probably explode. Like, I think you would actually kill her on the spot. And fucking Rebirth is like, nah, we're just rolling with it. And the boss fight kicks ass. All of it is very good. And she's just really funny, like every time she's in the cutscene, but she's also really good at her job and just occasionally fucks up.
They eliminated the fuck up and made her into a boss ass bitch. And it's all for the betterment of her character, because she can still participate in slapstick shit, but she's no longer the butt of the joke.
Yeah, she's really funny, and it owns. She gets to crack jokes instead and just be like a fucking great character.
It's very Monarch energy.
Yes.
Because she's still, you know, both of them are still the victim of the joke. But it's not like, oh, my pants fell down and everyone saw my butt and pointed and laughed at me.
Right.
It's by nature of them being this egotistical and hate-filled and spiteful. They lend themselves to being put in dumb situations that they have to back out of.
Right, exactly.
But they can't back out of because their pride is on the line.
Right, and it owns. It's so good. Like, it's just... she's just really funny. I think she has, like, all of my favorite bits in the game.
My ADHD brain formed connections that led me to thinking of Elena wearing those fucking Vegeta shirts that say, like, there's a place for me in hell, it's called the throne.
You have no idea how many of those shirts Elena owns. Rude just looking at her collection of those shirts, and she's just like, I can't be seen with you in public, please, just so you know. I have image to maintain.
Elena writes Elena's like, name like two of your top idols, and she's like Vegeta and Pearl Forrester.
Yeah.
Rude only becomes Elena's friend when he provides her with one of those Vegeta shirts. It's very similar to what she already owns, except Vegeta has been photoshopped to be bald.
Yeah, no, it owns. That's another thing. The bald bar is a really when we were doing the stream, in the original game, the thing is that you can find Rude just like drinking at a bar in Junon, and he doesn't give a shit, and it's funny, right? Because you're just hanging out, and so like we're doing Rebirth, and I'm like, I know there's a bar around here that Rude has to be drinking in, because this game is very devoted to recreating those moments, right? Like, so there's definitely a bar. If it's anything like the original game, it's one of those like underground bars. It's like a basement bar.
It's like a speakeasy,
yeah. I'm like, so we gotta find stairs leading down to a basement bar, and we have never found stairs leading down to a basement bar harder in our entire life.
It was because we found the bar where Elena is hanging out.
Right, because she's like, about how she fucked everything up.
Like, oh, is that it? Like, is Rude just like not here in this one? Like, is that the way they're interpreting? And then we just stumble across Rude in front of a secret door.
And it's a fucking bald bar, and it owns.
And they have a salute where they salute and then squeak their heads. It's the most Yakuza thing that could be in this game.
It owns.
If so Kiryu funny. Had walked down the stairs, it would not have been out of place at all.
But the only difference is in that version of events, we would have hypothetically gotten the version where Kiryu's like, I have to be bald to drink here, huh? And then he submits to having his head shaved on the spot.
That's right.
Well, in fairness, in Yakuza 8, he wouldn't have to. He'd probably just take
off his wig. Oh my god. But yeah, no, like, there's just so much shit like that in the video game, where it's just, we took the joke and we made it even better.
The funniest thing I think we've encountered, because I don't know, maybe she'll show up later, but like, we encountered a character who is one of the most like main character designs ever I've seen in this game, and she exists solely to be your Gary Oak in Queen's Blood on the ship.
No, I think,
and then she's gone.
If you guys do the Queen's Blood World Tour, she comes back.
Does she?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, good.
I think she becomes a character you can Queen's Blood if you do enough Queen's Blood. So,
awesome.
We have to do the Queen's Blood World Tour at some point so we can see her again. But yeah, no, just the luxuriousness of it all is the thing that always astounds me. There's just so much of it, right? Like there's just so much FF7 packed into this Final Fantasy VII. It's fucking absurd.
It really does feel like they were like, well, you know, this is it. This is the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Right.
We're not going to get another chance to do this. Put all your ideas in.
Right. Any dumb mini game that's thematic that you can think of. Any dumb, like, referential joke you can think of.
Is there a character that you wanted to expand on? Now is your chance. We're going to turn Dio into a weird professional wrestler, Mr. Satan hybrid. And he's going to be awesome.
Instead of bad. He's going to be awesome.
Do you want to have a cutscene where you encounter a guy who's obviously Gilgamesh doing like a weird sand jutsu kind of thing, and then nothing comes from that?
We have to finish the proto.
Surely there's quests we can do to do that.
surely our friend Greg will show up if we do more proto relic stuff.
If we play the video game more, maybe we can summon Greg from the ether and fight him again, and he can be a summon too, and he'll take all our money.
They turned Cloud into Big Boss.
They turned Cloud into Big Boss. Yeah.
Did you see the tweet did you see the tweet that was like, the 7th Infantry better be the crew of the Highwind in part 3?
Oh my god, they super would though.
That would be
great.
God. That actually makes total sense, because you get the Highwind in Junon,
and it's like a Star Trek ass crew.
Yeah, my god.
I hope that means we get to have the weird duo with the red and blue officer uniforms also be crew members somehow.
the commander and the other guy. Like, I really hope. Yeah. I hope they also get to be on the high wind. That's such a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tweet about it because Tetsuya Nomura follows me on Twitter.
Of course,
so I'll make sure to put that idea in his head.
Afterwards, we have to like make sure that we do a selfie with like really heavy eyeliner.
That's right. And I'll get the Hime cut. I promise.
Just straighten those bangs out.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, every yeah, we're gonna do the parade mini game. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be
so
the
much
most
more
spectacular, involved, like detailed incident of you not just like doing the rhythm mini game, right? It's like no, you gotta find people who will be good at staying in rhythm and unison to march and set your squad.
I do think I was listening to the Gigaboots talk about that recently because Bob's been very slowly going through that game, and he mentioned having done this bit, and I think it was his favorite. It's like, oh, what'd you think about that? And his response is, they made it doable by humans.
Yeah. Saturn. In the original game, that mini game is impossible.
No, yeah,
I recall you saying something to that.
Yeah,
effect.
no,
yeah.
You'll see soon.
It's the most clusterfuck embarrassing thing that can happen.
I literally, to this day, I have played a lot of the original Final Fantasy VII, and I don't know how to do good in that mini game. So So we'll probably just do bad, so you can see the gag if you do it bad, which is somebody send that guy a bomb, and then you get a bunch of grenades as item options. But yeah, no, like the fucking, like, it's all just so much. The Junon sequence is so elaborate. Now you get your fucking Pikmin following you around, and which is one of the funniest visuals I've ever seen in a video game.
You're like, what's that sound? And we turn around and there's just guys following us.
It's just like a whole
eyes
squad
glowing
of
at you
goons.
nonstop.
Yeah, they all
It is
got
frankly
the three-eyed helmet.
It is frankly a testament to this game's reserve that they didn't actually just go, yeah, we're going to actually also put a Pikmin minigame in this, where you control them all like Pikmin and like lob them at someone.
They should have fucking, that should have been Fort Condor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what Fun Corner would be.
I think instead of so when everything goes wrong after the parade and we've got to escape Junon, and it's Cloud escaping with his 7th Infantry goons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just having to keep them alive, you should have had to Pikmin them, right?
Yes.
Like, you should have been able to, like, throw them to solve problems.
Yeah.
I think Cloud should do that.
They
should use the Buster Sword to fastball special them at enemies.
Yeah, because that's what the Buster Sword is for.
It should have been Square Enix's response to Sujimon, where they did Soldierman.
Yeah, exactly, Soldierman, exactly. And I think that would have been perfect, and then it also would have been less frustrating than trying to keep those fucking goobers alive.
It was honestly, it was surprisingly not difficult to keep them alive.
It just seems like every time I blinked, they were taking a shit ton of damage.
I had to keep an eye on them for a lot of it, but like, they were all using guns, so like they were naturally keeping their distance.
Right.
So I just kind of had to keep track of like, oh, there's something trying to sneak up on him. I'll go grab that guy real quick.
I gotta protect my boys.
Yeah.
Our good loyal boys.
But yeah, no, everything was like, it's so packed.
Right.
Full of, there's always something new popping up in the game.
And it's just like, it's a game that's almost impossible to talk about. I mean, we always have this problem where we end up just kind of bebopping back and forth between multiple topics. But like,
well, I did take notes, obviously.
You took notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did want to talk. We kind of talked. We skipped past it. I want to talk about Barrett.
Barrett is so good in this video game.
Barrett got so much to do in this game.
Yeah, Barrett really does get elevated to like
the entire Dying chapter. The fact that he consistently gets to stay as the head of Avalanche and isn't just kind of deferred to Cloud making decisions because Cloud is the protagonist.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This game really has, like, from what little I've seen of FF7, has really just gone, no, Barrett's a main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Barrett is a major character. He's basically one of the 3 main characters now.
You could remove Cloud and, like, the entirety of the insane plot that's happening there and have this just be a Barrett-centric video game, and it would not obviously be the same game, but it would be, like, a really strong 7th or 8th gen JRPG.
Yeah.
It's definitely helped by the fact that we get to just have the party with us at all times. Because you don't have to do the thing that Classic 7 and a lot of JRPGs do, which is, well, when you can make your party whatever you want, that means the party themselves can't do a lot in the plot.
Right.
Because you can't guarantee they'll be there.
Right. We can't, like, guarantee that you'll have the right people, and we can't, like, there's just not enough space on the disc to account for multiple reactions to certain plot things, right? Like, they do that very, very occasionally in original 7, but they're just like, we just don't have the space to do it. But now it's like explicitly the whole party is traveling together, and every now and then they get split up and have to go separate directions, right? Like something will happen, or they'll have to split up for whatever reason. And then you get like more one-on-one interactions. But like in the world, and when you're just kind of wandering around, everybody is hanging out together, which is really fun and cute and good.
Yeah, like Barrett definitely had a lot of improvements in the original remake, but Rebirth just elevates him so much, and that he is always present and active and driving the party forward, and the entirety of his plot with Dyne is so well done. You get this,
it's really good,
beautiful, intricate flashbacks of everything that happened between them. Dyne himself becomes like a real character that has like things going on,
right? Instead of just somebody who shows up and is a boss fight and then dies.
Yeah.
Which is basically what he is in the original.
And like this part was like always going to be like kind of Barrett's part of the storyline, because like the last half of disc 1 is like aggressively, this is Barrett and Red 13's like stories, we're going to talk about him here. And then when you start disc 2, they fall off really hard.
Yeah.
So they made sure to, like elevate those two to the degree that they even added things like at the very tail end, we got to see Barrett's wife.
Yeah, we actually finally got to see Myrna for the first time ever.
Yeah, which is like, his like little flashback trauma trip was the best one of them all, because it became he got to be a different character model for one thing, and we got to see a character we've never seen before, and like all this expansion on his history and where he was and what he became.
Yeah, and it's just like they really like lean into, I think it's really smart to lean more into the team dad aspect instead of like, the angry black guy stereotype. Like they like that the first video game has that, but it's for like understandable reasons, right? Because he's doing fucking environmental terrorism and it's cool.
Yeah. And then his plot is resolved, then he as a character just kind of falls off because he can't be plot relevant anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and like they can't square the circle of like he can't be the team dad anymore, because by the time he needs to step up and be team dad, Sid has shown up and now there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
But like what I mean is that in remake, in part 1 of remake, like he's more of like he's like the angry guy, right? And then in Rebirth, they're like, okay, well, the thing is that one of the needles that's really hard to thread with this 3-part remake structure is that you have to, just because of like the way stories work, you have to do character arcs for all of your major characters 3 times, right? Because that's just kind of how plot writing has to work. So everybody still needs to kind of have at least a mini arc in this middle game, and this game is, it's a middle game, so you can't finish anybody's plot character arcs, but you can introduce some stuff and then resolve it. And so like in the first game, Barrett has like, he's still kind of thinking, I think it's actually President Shinra that calls him out on it, that it's like you're still thinking too small. Like he's thinking just about like clearing Avalanche's name when they confront Shinra. And he's like, why wouldn't you ask me to shut down all the Mako reactors in the world? Right?
Right.
And then, so then in part 2, Barrett's like, he's thinking bigger and he's being like more responsible. And that manifests partly in the form of being the funniest team dad ever. And it fucking kicks ass. It rules. I think having Barrett just really, because he is the oldest party member. Red 13 doesn't count because he's technically 17, even though he's 48. And like leaning hard into Barrett being like the fun team dad is like a really nice, refreshing way to write that character. It gives him a lot more depth. It makes him like the very sweet, soft-hearted and understanding one who's like trying to take care of all of these fucking idiots.
And again, it's part of it because of the fact that I think they even doubled down on the fact that he has the most beautiful, kind eyes in the world.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's like even because like I rewatched Remake very recently before we started doing the stream, right? And I think it's like because like you're right, in the first game, in like in the original I'm sure, but also in Remake to a certain extent, he is like very angry.
Right.
But also, like, he's angry in a way where you get the sense, it's not like he's just, like, he's angry. You do get the sense it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the game where it's like, well, he's kind of worked through a lot of the anger. Now we're going to get into where that anger comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, so you still get this bit of, like, he has this really detailed character arc as he kind of, you see the places where you really get a sense of how Barrett became Barrett. And why he continues to be Barrett in spite of everything, right? And it's like, damn, I wouldn't have expected this character would get so much love. Honestly, I was
But they gave him so much love.
They gave him so much. I love every cutscene where he has to yell at someone in the party for running off and trying to get involved in something.
Right.
I love the part in, I think it's when they first arrive in Costa del Sol.
Yeah.
And Barrett's like, you better not be thinking about just hanging out on the beach. And then Tifa and Aerith both look like dogs that you've just yelled at.
And they just slowly turn away.
Yeah, they do the actual dog side eye.
Yeah. And they're just like, we're not gonna listen to you, Dad. and it owns. It's such a good moment. Like, there's so many, like, and I mean, like, the game is fucking full to the teeth of these, like, really adorable little character moments because they were like, no, this is what the whole video game is about.
One of my favorites, and this feels like this is the Nomura team touch, which is when you first meet Vincent and he scans your ID card, and the scanner doesn't work.
Yeah, I was literally about to say.
He hits it a few times, and then Kate has to grab it from him and to turn it on.
Has to show Grandpa how to use the computer. Yeah.
And all this in favor of Vincent going, yeah, by the way, that is a legitimate ID, but it's very obviously not yours.
Yeah.
Which is also a really good joke, too.
Yeah.
That's itself a really good joke, but it's also, I love Ketchy is like, yeah, Ketchy could probably see this coming a mile away, so like, well, I gotta show him how to work the scanner. It's company policy.
It can't help that Grandpa doesn't know how to use computers. He's been in a coffin for 30 years, maybe. I don't know.
There's also the bit where after Kate Sith betrays the party and they finally catch him, and Aerith is asking why, and while he's about to explain, Cloud goes, "No, don't let him, because I know you'll fall for it."
Yeah, because you're a fucking bleeding heart, and you always fall for it. And it's like, but I want to forgive the kitty.
See, the problem is, I wish that they hadn't done that, if only because I would have loved to have gotten, and like, they probably didn't do this because it'd be like another hour or two of video game they'd have to make on top of this already huge video game. I would have loved the arc where it's just Aerith and Ketchy in the party and no one else. Like, they're off having their own adventure.
Yeah. They're just goofing off together because they're just like, no, I want to hang out with the kitty.
The rest of the party.
Her most Juno character trait.
That's correct. I just want to hang out with the robot cat.
This robot cat might be evil, but goddamn it, if I'm not going to hang out with him.
There's also the bit where Kate Sith kind of like goes on autopilot because Reeve stepped away, obviously.
That's like probably one of my favorite bits in the whole game is just because like that's like one of those things that everybody has always wondered since the game came out 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
Which is what happens if Reeve is stuck in a meeting? Like what does Kate Sith do?
What is the exact level of control that Reeve has over Kate Sith? Like,
and the answer is that he goes into autopilot mode, but he can't talk.
Autopilot is like itself kind of a generous description because I think he also just like completely stops moving. Like he's just A-posing the entire time.
I think he follows everybody. Like I think he's basically Final Fantasy XIV art like /follow.
Yeah.
Right? And
I just remember the cutscene where like, Ketchi, what do you think about this? And Ketchi's just standing there A-posing.
Yeah. You just hear Reeves' normal voice muffled, be like, "I'm in the middle of something. Can you? I'll sign it later." What was that,
lad? The incredible visual storytelling of the fact that like Reeve is like a totally normal guy, but his fucking desk is covered in pill bottles.
Yeah. Also, the fact that. What I like about Reeve is that someone pointed this out on Twitter. He is the most accurate, realistic character in the game because he's a furry who works for Raytheon who can only feel better by role-playing as a big-thighed cat.
Yeah, that's correct.
There's also the hilarious gag of Reeve changing the official wanted poster.
Yeah. Photoshopping the wanted posters to be like totally different guys.
To be creator wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like your first attempt in like WWE Raw for the N64 to try to make Final Fantasy VII characters.
You fools! You've captured their stunt doubles.
I hope in the third game we just get a bit where Rufus just walks into Reeves' office like, "Hey man, this is really funny, but I gotta ask you not to do this on company time. This isn't what I'm paying you for."
I also really want is a gag in part 3 where you meet those guys from the
yes!
Their life has been ruined.
They need to do the One Piece thing with Duvall.
Yeah.
They need to do the Yakuza thing where they meet each other.
Yeah.
And the other guys don't realize that this is the people that they're impersonating.
It's got to be the Ace Attorney 3, the Trials and Tribulations bit. With the guy who just has Phoenix Wright's exact hairstyle and otherwise looks nothing like him, but did still get Phoenix accused of murder.
Yeah.
The only way that joke would have been better is if Reeves shows off the wanted poster and Barrett's white.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It would have been so good. I love it so much.
I just can't wait for the moment where we finally get the Shinra reveal of Reeve accidentally speaking in the accent.
Oh god, please, I want him to do the accent in the board meeting so badly.
I want to believe in my heart of hearts that it's a voice filter because Reeve can't do an accent.
So it's just automatically translating it to a Scottish accent?
When I mentioned offhand that this is that reveal is something I got spoiled on ahead of time as one of the only things I spoiled on, it is because I saw someone shared a very funny meme, which was the one of using the wrong personality type with the wrong friend group, and it's just a picture of Reeve with all the other department heads, and Reeve's just going meow 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 meow.
yeah.
The thing is, Reeve is always a really funny character, just in concept in the original game, and I'm really glad that they leaned into it so hard to just be like, no, Reeve is a funny character. We know, we're aware.
Every cutscene of the board meeting is him at Evil Co. Pouting because no one will listen to him when he asks to stop being evil.
They should have had him cast as Neil Breen. So he could have a bit isn't that unethical?
Isn't that wrong?
I've killed 300 million people. Wait, excuse me. I've killed 300 million people?
God. Fuck.
I am. If there's one thing I am a little bit bummed out about is the distinct lack of Rufus's board of directors that he fucking hates.
Yeah, he's much more like professional with them.
Yeah.
And somebody posted it on Twitter the other day, but they pointed out that they did take out the part where he tells Heidegger to stop with that stupid horse laugh.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, how could you do this to me?
We get enough of them like interacting with an individual level. We get Scarlet being Team Rocket.
Right.
And showing up in a big giant robot to fight the party. We get Hojo at the beach, which is great. Surrounded by company provided hoes.
By paid floozies. Not even company provided floozies. The town, the mayor was like, here, have some floozies. So
Corruption floozies.
And then you talk to them. You talk to them, and they're explicitly being paid to be there.
That's right. None of those floozies wanted to be there. Although I am kind of sad about that because I think it's funnier that Hojo just got hose.
Yeah,
right. Like I just think it's funnier.
It's so fun. It's so funny the idea that Hojo inexplicably has the most riz out of anyone in the cast, despite being like a psychopathic greaseball.
Yeah, he's a grease elemental, but he can just pull better than anybody. Right.
We did get Palmer being a gigantic man baby.
Huge shitty. I love the gag in the Gold Saucer where you can't get a hotel room. And then Kate Sith is like, it's fine, I've got it. I can't do a Scottish accent. I'll let one of the others.
It's fine. I've got a room for you.
Yeah,
and then Palmer shows up.
It turns out that Reeve definitely took Palmer's room.
Yeah.
Really, really good gag. Elena's just like, we have this room booked. And it's like, sorry, ma'am, there's nothing I can do.
I like the idea that there were probably other rooms and he chose that one. Like, I hate that fucking Palmer guy is good. So I'm gonna get one over him.
That's totally it.
That was entirely spite. That was entirely out of all this, he's like, Palmer, that one.
Because like Reeve would never ruin the day of like just like a normal.
Joe.
A working Joe who's just trying to go to Disney World, right?
Reeve is looking at the reservation list and he sees Shinra middle manager, and then underneath it is Palmer, and he's like, that one.
That one.
Yeah, exactly. I like the idea that Shinra middle manager's full legal name is Shinra middle manager.
Yeah.
Apparently we missed the side quest where he quits working for Shinra.
Oh my god, good for him! It makes his legal name extremely inconvenient, however.
I know the spoiler for that one if you guys want to hear it.
Please.
Yeah, please.
He joins the other Splinter Cell of Avalanche.
Yes!
So does that mean in part 3 he's gonna be Avalanche middle manager?
Yeah, oh my god, I really hope that's the gag.
That would be so funny.
Oh my god.
My hope for I mean, it's going to be Reunion, right? Or like...
Well, the problem is they have Reunion, and
they've already used Reunion.
They did.
That's not going to stop them from doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
it's either or it's reverse. I'm saying it's going to be reverse.
Reverse makes sense to me because there's the timeline shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope in part 3 in reverse there is a mini game to build your crew for the High Wind.
Yeah. Oh my god, yes.
And then you can go around recruiting people, and it's like they all have individual stats. Like you can recruit Shinra middle manager as like an S rank.
Blitzball guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can recruit middle manager as like an S rank recruit.
Yes. Oh, I love this plan.
You can recruit Johnny and he's like D rank.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you can recruit the chicken nugget to work as your corporate middle manager in the Yakuza Zero.
Oh, I love that plan. I super want that really, really badly now, so I hope we get it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that the video game basically has I did not think that we would ever get again, because my brain has been so broken by modern video games. I didn't think we would get the Tiny Bronco boat sequence, right?
Oh yeah, not at all. Me neither.
Because that's a real that's a real fucking overworld.
Yeah,
in your JRPG. They don't do those anymore.
And they drop it at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
They're
Which
like, hey,
makes
by the way, pirate adventure.
Yeah, you get to go on a pirate adventure.
I did look up Shinra Middle Manager. I'm curious. I can't believe that is a character who is in the original game. Called Shinra Middle Manager.
Yeah, he's on the train. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he apparently shows up throughout the game as well.
Does he?
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's the same guy every time.
I guess I didn't realize it was the same guy every time.
Yeah, it's
Very
the same
funny.
guy every time.
I
He apparently
never realized.
similarly he doesn't like literally quit his job, but he does like fantasize vocally about like, damn, what if the weapons kill upper management? Maybe they'll make me president.
You meet middle manager in Wutai. He's in the bar.
Oh my god! I guess so. I just never.
We're gonna have to keep our
thought
eye
it was
out
the same
for him
guy.
then.
Yes. Oh my god, we were definitely gonna have to keep our eye out for him in the playthrough that I'm doing. This episode's going up tomorrow, right?
This one, yeah. So we'll stream. We'll start
I'll
tomorrow.
literally, I will literally, as this episode comes out, I will be streaming the original Final Fantasy VII
Hell
all
yeah.
the way through. So please look forward to that. God, what else? There's so much. There's so much in the video game that I don't even know where to start. Ben, get your notes out.
Okay, so I have a question for y'all. So Sephiroth was just gaslighting Cloud about Tifa for funsies, right? Like that's.
Well, based
so.
based on what we saw about the the thing you linked about like the interpreting the many timelines of the game, it's possible that Sephiroth is alluding to a different timeline of events that happened or something.
Oh, maybe.
It could, cause
Like Sephiroth's like, no, she wasn't there, she didn't die or whatever, because it's like in a different continuity that shit didn't happen or something.
Right.
that's
is what I
it's
think.
possible because it is because like Sephiroth is obviously manipulating Cloud in a multitude of ways, right?
Right.
Like trying to get him to question everything.
Boyfriend, yeah.
It's very funny that he just seems to, as a side note, try to convince Cloud that Tifa is dead.
And has been replaced by a doppelganger.
Yeah, I guess been replaced by. I guess what they were trying to do. Oh, go ahead, Oates.
I think like it's a bit of combination of both. I'm pretty sure it's Sephiroth deliberately gaslighting this Cloud because he knows, like, based on how the timeline's working, this is the incorrect Cloud to be doing it to.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trying to manipulate Cloud into reacting the ideal way that he needs him to for this timeline to fail.
Right. And
She's a
shapeshifter Cloud. She's working with the reptilian shadow government Cloud.
She's one of the Goatmen, Cloud.
Well, I mean, like, and I guess that's kind of the thing that I kind of wish they had leaned into more, which is that so they establish in this game that Genova can only impersonate dead people, right?
Right.
So I thought it was going to be like, no, Cloud is insinuating, or sorry, Sephiroth is insinuating to Cloud that Tifa died and this is a Genova, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
But they never really. That's kind of like one of my like beefs with the video game. There's a couple like storytelling things I'm kind of like about.
I think it might just have been written in such a way that we're only just now realizing that might have just been a red herring to fool us, and we didn't really fall for it.
Right.
It could.
Who's gonna fall for it?
It's either what I'm thinking of. It's either was a red herring and it was meant to fool the player into questioning things about the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on top of all the other weird temporal shit that's happening.
Right.
Or it's gonna come back in part 3 in a big way. Because that's also a very
see that.
Nomura thing of being like, oh, I guess that didn't really go anywhere. And then like 3 games later, oh shit! Oh,
Yeah, it actually was going somewhere.
Yeah, we say this, but there's also a chance where like we're going to get to the 3rd game and there is going to be a plot beat that Tifa has actually been dead the entire time, and this has been a really this has been an extremely, or at least in some continuity now that Cloud can see through timelines or whatever, that in some continuity she is a doppelganger.
Right.
Because Cloud can now see multiple times. Oh god. We'll talk about the ending in a minute.
He seems to be in a superposition of 2 very specific ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
he is,
god.
Which, you know, a lot of again, this is a very Nomura thing of introducing a huge set of bizarre circumstances and alternate realities and perspectives and whatnot, and then saying, yeah, none of that matters. You don't have to think about it. The plot will this is for me to keep track of everything that I'm writing. You, the
Right.
reader or player, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. This will all get explained like slowly over the course of the last game.
The-
we are doing something with this. It's
Yeah.
just going to take a while.
The
right?
stuff that's important to you to experience the story, I'll tell you about. All the
Right.
little details, that's for me to keep track of the shit that's happening.
Right.
Because I'm writing it.
That's what all those stamps are for, is mostly so that Nomura knows where he is in the plot.
Yeah.
I think it's that Nomura was like writing the plot and stuff, and somebody noticed that he was keeping track of timelines with different dog stickers, and they took that literally. Right?
Yeah.
He's like, so this timeline is the Shiba Inu timeline, and this is the Pomeranian timeline. And then somebody looked at the notes and said, Nomura-san wants us to use different dogs. And people are like, oh, okay, we can do that.
Propaganda.
Yeah, it's fine.
By the way,
you know.
quick side note about that, about Stamp, is I love the fanon theory that Stamp is a battle that Barrett lost with Marlene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. No.
He was like, I am not gonna let my baby girl watch Shinra propaganda, and then all the kids in her class were watching Stamp, and he's like, God damn it, fine.
Fine.
Also,
you can
Aaron-
I
watch
will
the
learn
cartoon.
the songs.
Aaron's just like, wow, Barrett, I wouldn't expect you to have a Disney Plus subscription. He's like, yeah, well, Marlene wants to watch House of Mouse. What the hell am I supposed to say to that?
Yeah, she wants to watch Paw Patrol.
Yeah, because Barrett is, and ACAB includes the class traders at Paw Patrol,
That's correct.
but he also has a 5-year-old daughter
Who just really wants to watch Paw Patrol.
who did in fact hold her breath until he let her watch Stamp.
And Marlene goes, ACAB, all cops are buppies.
That's right.
All cops are bozos, and Barrett gives her a thumbs up.
It's like, that's right, baby. You know what? Good enough.
All corgis are beagles. Now wait a minute.
No.
Barrett leaning down, and he's like, now, Marlene, what do you do if you're ever in trouble? And she's like, run away from the cops. And he's like, good job.
That's right. That's my little girl.
Don't find a cop. Correct.
Don't
Find a
talk to the
firefighter.
Good enough.
Oh my god.
You can find a doctor or a firefighter, but never a cop.
But never a police officer, okay, baby? Okay, daddy.
You got it, boss.
But no, I do think it is funny that Sephiroth trying to manipulate Cloud by trying to convince him that Tifa's dead, and then the minute the doctor that saved her shows up and is like, oh, yeah, that was an intense surgery, but it looks like you recovered pretty good. I'm glad I did a good job. Sephiroth's like, fuck, all right, plan B.
All right, we gotta do something different now. Fine. I understand why they can't show us Tifa's scar, because it's right between her big lustrous boobies, but like, they should have showed us Tifa's scar. I know it would have driven the entire internet insane to let us see that much of Tifa's chest, but like, come on.
Here's the thing. I think they understand that the risk there is that if they're going to model that, people in the PC modders are going to extract it to have canon compliant Tifa nude mod.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, you know...
And you know, the other thing it suddenly came into my head. There will be immediately PC mods if they showed off that scar that will have her slowly lifted up and reveal an Italian flag.
The important thing is that Cloud got to see it, and he went,
Cloud did get to see
that
it.
checks out.
Yeah.
You know-
and then he
you know, if
still
you
said
think-
the wrong thing to her on top of that
If
roof.
you think about it, Tifa has the patience of a saint. She showed him her boobies twice before they even got the first base.
Like, that's what I'm saying, is that like, Tifa, I love you, bestie, and I know that
You can do
love
better.
Cloud Strife. You could do so much better, though.
He's too dumb. I'm sorry.
He literally, the whole video game is, from my perspective, because we went after Tifa while we were playing, as far as I can tell, the plot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that Cloud says and does the wrong thing vis-a-vis Tifa Lockhart the whole video game, and then still gets to kiss her at the gold saucer, and I'm like, bestie, please.
The important thing is that he makes her happy. And
Does
we can't judge any more than that.
I can.
The thing is, this is all evidence that Tifa has her own horrible set of mental illnesses because she's seen all of this and still goes, I can fix him now.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's also equally
Yeah.
mentally ill. That's actually
he
a good point.
He did try to chop my body off, but like I can fix him.
He tried to chop her body off and knocked her into the fucking live stream, and she's still like, I can fix it.
She's like, not a deal breaker.
Not a deal breaker, girly. Are you sure?
She's just floating. She's floating in the Mako like, I know it's big. I know it's big. I know it's big.
I know it's big. It's gotta be. She saw him do the really cool thing where Sephiroth possessed him, and he did the thing where he dodged the bullets with his head, which was really sick looking, by the way. And she's like, oh god, I need him so bad. And it's just like, no.
He knows what to do with it. He knows.
He knows how. I know if I can just get him naked, he'll know what to do.
But
she's just sitting there. She's like, it's Mako enhanced. It's Mako enhanced.
But Fat Chocobo is the only Queen's Blood card that can take up to 9 tiles. Oh, I can't not fuck him.
That's literally it. It's him just fucking Ariel needs legs.
Yeah.
Cloud's like, yeah, I've been practicing. He's like in front of the piano. He's like, I'm practicing a medley of all the Final Fantasy boss battle themes. And she's like, I can't not fuck him.
He's just like fucking going to town very poorly on that piano.
Kate Sith, this is weird. What do I do? You love this girl, right?
You love her, right? But because she ate cats.
Maybe.
I know you're right. That's maybe a bit too many, but true love finds a way.
Maybe more.
There could always be more cats, Cloud. Have you considered that? I'm asking if I can like just hang out while you're around.
There simply cannot be a limit.
Nah, yeah, and I know what I will say, in their defense, they're the only ones that actually kiss.
They are the only ones that actually kiss. It's true. However, I have seen the hand holding that he does with Aerith, and it honestly is as romantic as a kiss. I watched it and I was like, oh my god. I like had to cover my face. I was so scandalized by like the intimacy of their hand holding.
Just fanning yourself like, oh my.
I know, like
in
which
public
one of you
even.
degenerates likes hand holding, and I'm just like, oh my god.
I have to know how the other dates go, because again, like I know one is with Yuffie, and I know one's a boys' night.
I know that the Yuffie one is mostly them just goofing off.
Sure.
That's good. I like
That's
that.
good. She's like your little sister.
Yeah, and I think boys' night is literally just them talking.
Great.
They're just all hanging out and they're just like sitting there shooting the shit about nothing.
You know what? I heard that we can all get on the Ferris wheel and have a conversation there. Why would we do that? I don't know.
Awfully romantic.
Let's play Texas Hold'em.
But no, you know what that reminds me of? Like, that's like another thing that's just like, oh, you didn't think we were gonna not let you do that? You get to do a whole little fucking rhythm mini game with the play.
You get to, oh my god, and it's fantastic. And
Bear was having such a good time.
Bear was having a blast.
Time. Like he's a bad. I like that. Like Barrett's voice actor is a good actor, but like so that means he knows how to play a bad actor because like Barrett is really bad at reading his lines. It's really cute. And just like yeah. I loved all of it.
Boy,
I hope that those are all costumes at some point.
It's kind of fortunate that there happened to be a talking dog in the audience to play the talking dog.
Right. I assume because it's like a VR thing, you can just insert anybody into that. I don't know. I don't want to overthink. That's like the thing about like Americans always overthinking things is don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, no, like chapter 12 is probably the best chapter.
Chapter
of the
12
game.
is the peak, is one of the peaks of the game.
It's peak.
Yeah.
Just because it has like all of the good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. You
and
get to play. Fun. You get to play. You get the date. You get the pay-per-view match the next morning.
That's right.
With fucking announcers and rap battles.
With Scotch and Koch
come, Scotch and Koch come back, and they're like still extremely good. And you get to go ahead.
With dynamic, battle battle announcements depending on how you're doing in the fight and who you're playing as.
And who your party comp is. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. And like, it's just great. Like, chapter 12 is so good. Chapter 13 is a huge fucking drag because that dungeon is way too long.
The Temple of Ancients, yeah, it's a bit long in the tooth.
The floor switching bit was activating my motion sickness in a way I didn't think was possible for a video game to do.
Mm-hmm. It's I couldn't even look at it. Like, every time Ben did it, I like had to look away. I'm just like, nope, I'm good. Actually, I might throw up if I have to watch this. But yeah, no, like, God, Ben, what else you got in your notes before we start talking about ending shit? Because ending shit's gonna be a whole fucking thing.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Glenn.
Oh, I love the audacity of them putting Glenn Lodbrok in this video game. So if you don't know, Glenn Lodbrok is... So there's 3 storylines in Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. I know this because I started the game and then played it for 15 minutes. It's like, this sucks. But it has 3 storylines. One is you're going through the plot of the original game. One is you're going through the plot of Crisis Core. And the third is an Ever Crisis exclusive plot, which has to do with young Sephiroth, right? So it's like Sephiroth's like first handful of missions as a soldier. And it's like a really adorable young Sephiroth design. It looks really great. And the guy that he's working with is Lodbrok. He fucking looks like Cloud's dad. He might be Cloud's dad. I don't know. And the very funny thing is that Lodbrok, because it's a fucking prequel story, you don't know what happens to him. So showing what happens to him in Rebirth involving Rufus fucking ventilating him is like a giant spoiler for Ever Crisis, because the game hasn't gotten to that part yet.
It's also not really a spoiler because he's not in the base game, so he's gotta be dead.
And it's just the audacity of it, I think, is very funny. It's very Nomura, but also very stupid because sometimes Tetsuya Nomura does have bad ideas, which is to put a character from your gacha game in it, and that gacha game will absolutely be dead by the time Reverse or whatever the fuck it's called comes out, right? Like Square Enix gacha games don't get to live, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they are all fucking smothered in the crib.
All of the important shit that may or may not be relevant into Missing Link and Kingdom Hearts 4 happened after Union Cross shut down.
Exactly. Like I'm sure that in a similar way, maybe when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Ever Crisis shuts down, they'll put those story chapters in like its own video game, the way Missing Link works, so that people can actually play it because it's like somewhat important. But I just think it's very, very funny to put this character that like nobody knows who this guy is. Like, it's amazing that nobody knows who Lodbrok is. Like, the universal response to that fucking thing was like,
who
the fuck are you? Who is this guy? Who are you? Is he somebody like from like before Crisis? No. He's from the fucking phone game that nobody is playing right now instead of the fucking phone game that nobody played 10 years ago, right?
Because they couldn't, because it was only on Nokias.
It was only on fucking flip phones and only in Japan.
But I think Lodbrok is a hilarious character because you do get all you need to know about him in this game. It's Rufus killed him, and he's like floating around and pestering Rufus as like a weird force ghost.
Right.
But then it's not. It was Sephiroth the whole time.
It was Sephiroth the whole time, I guess.
Because like it could not. It could be that Sephiroth and Lodbrok are working together because Sephiroth doesn't like pretend to be someone else for Cloud. But I guess he could if it was someone who was not Cloud. But
yeah, the thing is that he could if it was somebody that's not Cloud. Like,
Sephiroth.
The thing is that Genova does let you impersonate dead people. So
again, going back to Sephiroth just abandoning his plan to gaslight Cloud with Tifa, where he's just like, I could probably mess with Rufus. Who does Rufus know that he killed? His dad? No, I killed his dad. I guess that could be that Lodbrok guy. Does he?
Yeah.
He said like, will he remember Lodbrok?
We missed the bit where they first encounter. It's like, "Hello, Rufus," and Rufus is just like looks at him blankly, and then just goes, "It's me, Glenn Lodbrok." And Rufus is like, "Oh yeah,
oh right, I know who you are."
Sephiroth's just like, he's like, well, if he doesn't remember him, then I don't really lose anything. I can just move on. But
I can just go back to being myself, I guess,
looks-
which is kind of what
looks-
happens at the end of the
looks
video
at his
game.
watch and he's like, I'm not set to mess with Cloud for another 3 hours. I got time.
but then he's like, "Hello, Rufus," and Rufus is like, "Hello, you son of a bitch. Have you come back with my $25 yet?"
and then Sephiroth was like, oh, this will be fun.
Ooh, okay. Never mind. You seem pissed about this one, bestie. Okay.
I do like recontextualizing Sephiroth as a guy who also just likes to mess with people.
He just likes to fuck with people. It's really funny that he just kind of like he has this funny I just want to screw with this guy energy now that is just not in any of the other games, but I kind of vibe with.
I think it makes sense if you look at it from like a perspective of like post compilation, where we know what kind of person he becomes after like Advent Children, which is to say, spite's literally all I've got left.
That's true.
This is very much a Sephiroth who apparently, just by kind of something that we kind of predicted, which is that, like Aerith, this Sephiroth knows the future, but it's really more that he knows about alternate timelines, right?
Right.
This is a Sephiroth who has the knowledge of multiple variations of all of these people, so he does know how to get under their skin. He's looking at this from a very meta perspective.
Yeah.
At this point.
It is very interesting. I am looking forward to how all of this resolves, because it's interesting to do the whole Sephiroth is because I don't think this is huge spoilers. The whole point of the meteor plan is to crash a meteor into the planet so that Sephiroth can be at the center of all that Mako and kind of get a ton of power, right?
Right.
And
JRPG bad guy stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
it's do standard JRPG bad guy stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So, but now it sounds kind of like he is also using the meteor plan to enact not just the micro reunion, aka all of the Sephiroth, all of the soldiers who have Genova cells in their body, right? So Roche and all of the other black-robed men and shit, calling all of them to him, so a small reunion, the reunion as we know it from the video game, but also a larger reunion, which is a reunion of all timelines collapsing in on themselves, is what it sounds like.
It sounds like...
Oh, is Sephiroth trying to borrow Ketir himself?
It sounds like... So, the
is
way
Sephiroth
I'm reading...
trying to collapse all extant Sephiroths into a single perfect Sephiroth?
Well, see, the thing is, Saturn, the way I've been reading it is Sephiroth already is Barrow Ketir, and he's trying to fix all of the timelines so that they're a singular prime timeline.
I see.
That's how I've been reading it.
I'm
he's trying to create
Warframe.
a singular perfect Cloud.
And
And there's one Cloud who took the deal and became a psychic powered brainchild, and another Cloud who didn't take the deal, who got banished to a sort of phantom hell dimension of his own creation.
See. Okay. I learned so much about Warframe whenever I hang out with you two, because this is the only way I'm gonna learn anything about Warframe.
That's shame.
Correct.
it is an idea, again, very very Nomura, very Kingdom Hearts-esque, of these alternate timelines and merging realities, and whatnot, and splitting of worlds, essentially. the idea that it seems like Sephiroth's plan is to collapse the timelines in on each other,
Right.
and erase them to form one perfect timeline. For some ultimate goal, some ultimate true reunion.
Right.
To fulfill the will of Jenova or what have you. Which is just another interesting thing, because it seems like this Sephiroth is very, very detached from Jenova.
Yeah, like OG Sephiroth is very focused on Jenova. Like he's a mama's boy.
Yeah.
And he's very fixated on trying to do what his mother in finger quotes did.
Yeah.
And like this Sephiroth seems concerned with much larger things. And I mean, fuck, maybe it is fucking post-Advent Children Sephiroth who is now himself like something bigger than just a guy who went kind of insane and has a whole bunch of alien cells in his brain making him crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This is the kind of shit that's like, it's almost impossible to even speculate on because, fuck, I don't know. I was speculating.
The thing is, like, Sarah, you did mention like Jenova can give someone the ability to impersonate the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know that this prime timeline isn't just one where Sephiroth actually died?
It could be.
It could
shit.
The thing is,
fuck, maybe.
The thing that I find very interesting about all this is that there's a lot we can speculate on about this, for sure. There's tons we can try to interpret and read into. But it's very interesting that the game itself is not interested in giving us clues.
No.
Because this is because what this is not the second game in a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second part of a game.
Right.
Like this is not the kind of thing where like this isn't the end of the season and we're going to get season 3 later. This is the midway point of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just going to be a delay until the third part kicks in. So like,
right.
Which is why I thought it was interesting that there was no post credits, in this game that there was in Remake, where you see Zack and it's like, holy shit, what the fuck? You're not supposed to be here. Because it left us with a lot of questions, but didn't give us any clues to know what those questions should be. Because it's not done yet. We're not done giving you things to think about.
And this game
is
is
just
apparently...
like this next one's going to be out in 2 years, not 4. So you don't get a credit stinger.
Yeah.
This game is also not getting DLC apparently. Like according to I googled it. I saw it they were talking about it on the subreddit, and I wanted to make sure, like the FF7 subreddit. And I was like, is that true? And I went and googled it, and they don't have any plans for DLC for this game. So it sounds like they want to get part 3 out like soon.
Yeah, well, I was to say, which would make sense if they because we mentioned like there's a bit of co-development happening where like they were like already developing part 3, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like we know from what we've talked about that like when they made the first part of FF7 Rebirth, it was not initially a done deal that they were going to make more parts later, which is why they kind of did the Midgar thing, because they're like, in the event that this turns out to have been a complete waste of time and money. We want to make something that will kind of stand on its own. That's
probably why you fought Sephiroth, because like we want to get the stuff everyone wants, which is Midgar, and you fight Sephiroth.
Right. And
then it's like, it's sold gangbusters. Of course, it's sold gangbusters, but it's sold gangbusters. Okay, part 2 and 3.
Yeah, like in the unlikely event that Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first video game, if it somehow failed, if Square Enix just totally failed to read the room and nobody actually was going to spend money on like a 3-part, like the first part of a 3-part FF7 remake, right? And it flopped, then the FF7 remake part 1 is itself a fully contained video game. Everybody has character arcs, there is an actual plot, and if it had only ever been one video game, then the plot is the original cast of Final Fantasy VII tries to free themselves from the ending of Final Fantasy VII and ostensibly succeed, but we're not sure, right?
Bringing us all the way back around to the very beginning of the episode, just like Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
Just like Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, exactly. And so, like, yeah, like that in itself is a complete story. So yeah, they put that whole video game, plus that game also had like really, really troubled development. They announced it in 2015. And then at some point they realized that the team that was making, I think it was CyberConnect, was making the original.
Yeah,
I believe it was, and they had to completely reboot that game from scratch.
Yeah, because they did not like
story.
they did not like the original, like the first pass of that video game that CyberConnect was making, and they went, "Oh fuck, CyberConnect has wasted all of this time making this video game we don't like." And we need to get this video games out at some point in our players' human lives. So we're gonna restart development, and we're gonna put it on Unreal 4 because that lets us develop games in a faster time. Yeah, right.
You could end that sentence a couple words early. It lets us develop games.
It lets us develop games. Yeah, it lets us actually put video games out. Yeah. And so like Remake had some pretty troubled development, but then once Remake came out. And it was like, oh, well, obviously this was a huge success, duh. And now we can actually start making the rest of the video game. Now they're doing concurrent development. And God willing, we will have the third part out in 2 years.
Hopefully.
Well, like, and again, like, we say, like, oh, it was obviously a huge success, but, like, I will say, like, I know for Square Enix especially, they can be kind of exacting about that kind of thing, where, like, I remember they did that DS remake of Chrono Trigger, right?
Yeah.
And that sold something like 1 million copies, I want to say, which is pretty good for a DS game that's also, like, not actually a graphical improvement or anything like that. It's just the game with extra content in it. And they considered that a failure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And didn't end up doing anything else with that. So it's like, there's definitely a world where, like, well, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake sold, like, 5 million copies or whatever. But it only sold 5 million copies, and we wanted to do 8, so we're not going to do anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Square Enix is fucking insane.
I'm so glad we don't live in the timeline where FF7 Remake failed.
Yeah. I mean, like... Sorry. I... If it had failed, I would have been okay with, like, the video game we got.
Yeah.
But, like, I am happy that it didn't fail and that we got, like, the rest of the video game.
Yeah, because...
by the way, as of September last year, by the way, Remake has sold a total of 7 million copies.
Nice.
Wow.
Almost as much as the OG.
Yeah.
However, you have to consider this. This is only slightly more than the lifetime sales of Metal Gear Solid 2 on the PS2.
Yeah. All the video games just sold
well, because they made
were
more
cheaper.
of them.
They made more of them.
It was extremely weird for me to discover that of the PS1, PS2 Metal Gears, Metal Gear Solid 3 sold the worst by like a relatively considerable margin.
That's so funny.
That's weird.
Like it only sold like 6 million flat, and 1 and 2 both sold like over 7.
I think part of that is simply because of the age of the games, because like overall lifetime sales, those original games got more copies to be sold throughout the entirety of their PlayStation and later PlayStation 2's lifetime.
Yeah, but like the problem is video game sales don't really, like, they taper off extremely.
Well, the thing is that, like, very famously, Devil May Cry 2 outsold Devil May Cry 1 by like a pretty large margin on launch, despite that game being bad, because... And Metal Gear Solid is in the same boat, right? Like, I like Metal Gear Solid 2 a lot, but when it came out, not a lot of people liked Metal Gear Solid 2, right? It kind of, people kind of backlashed on it. And the same thing is here, is when your first video game in your 3-part series is really good, right? Then people get really excited for the sequel. And then like word of mouth gets around because the first game was really good, so the sequel's gonna be better, right? Well, what do you do when the second game is really bad? Then nobody buys the third game, and that's what happened to Devil May Cry 3, because that game also sold really poorly on launch compared to Devil May Cry 2. So it's what happens when your second game is not as good as your
Controversial.
first game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, there's also like the PlayStation 2 was the longest selling console
Yes.
by a wide margin, and they had like the player's choice thing where you can buy like $20 brand new copies for like greatest hit stuff. So that definitely inflated those numbers slightly.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of waiting.
I will say a weird sales figure comparison too is that Rebirth, and this might have some. Well, actually, Rebirth also on PS4 or was it only PS5?
No, PS5.
PS5.
Okay, this might have something to do with it. So interestingly, because we only get like the super specific sales breakdown for this for Japan, because like for globally otherwise it's kind of gestural. The first week sales for Rebirth were only a quarter of Remake.
Well, yeah,
in
it's
Japan.
PS5 only. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the other added issue of like the lightning in a bottle for Remake happened to be like right when the pandemic hit for everybody.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it literally came out in April of 2020. So everybody's stuck in their fucking houses. What else are you gonna do?
You're so right. Actually, that's definitely the big one. Yep.
But it's still, according to Google, Rebirth is the third best-selling PS5 game already. So
That's good.
And then PC version is going to come out and it'll be fine. That game's going to fucking move, like, do insane numbers on PC because nobody owns a PS5 anymore. Who wants a PS5? It has no video games except for Rebirth. So, it's fine. But, like, yeah, I guess just kind of circling back, like, the reason that there is no DLC, hopefully, means that we're just gonna get Rebirth Part 3 really soon, in like 2 years, maybe, please.
Final Fantasy Reborn.
Reborn, Reverse, whatever the fuck it's called. I would buy Reborn, actually. That makes sense.
Reborn would be... that's too close to Rebirth, I think.
I think Reverse is... I think that one's the one that's most likely to be real. I don't think they're going to do Reunion because, like, someone in marketing is going to go, no, we literally just put out a game called Final Fantasy VII something or other Reunion not like 2 years ago.
Yeah, they wasted that, which is a shame.
Return, maybe?
Oh, Return is good.
Return's pretty good.
Return is pretty good, actually, yeah.
Reincarnation? Nier's not using it anymore.
That's right. That's why they shut down Nier Reincarnation, is because they needed to use it for Final Fantasy VII instead.
Final Fantasy VII Replicant.
Replicant, absolutely. Ben, what else you got on your notes?
It's weird how this third game trilogy is called Final Fantasy VII Read Umineko.
No, I believe that. Please read Umineko, not Aquacorni.
Yeah, most of the stuff I do have is about the ending. So like,
sure. Okay, let's talk about the ending finally.
So there's 5 timelines that we know of.
Right. But one of them doesn't matter anymore. Two of them don't matter anymore because Zack got booted out of them, so they're just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like,
so, but the thing is, where is Zack now? We don't see a dog.
Right.
We don't know where Stamp is.
Zack is in some unknown 5th timeline.
We need to see the dog.
We need to see that dog, though. I understand. Like, the more I've thought about it, I feel kind of weird about the FF7 Rebirth ending because of the way it handles the Aerith's death thing. But I also think that's intentional, and I think what they're going to do in 3 is going to probably ruin my life harder than anything has ever ruined my life, because they're going to do the thing where they're going to make you go no, she actually is dead for real. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, leading, I've seen people express disappointment about the ending of the game and whatnot, but it's like, remember, it's not an ending. This is the same thing that happened with Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
Right.
But we're going to get part 3.
We are going to get part 3.
I do kind of agree with that one, that Twitter post that you linked that's kind of trying to work through a possible explanation for the weird timeline shit. I do still think that we're going to get to 3 and go no, we are still going to find a way to save Aerith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I think My current standing theory is that we're going to save an Aerith, but she's
Right.
probably not going to stay in the same timeline as us, right? Because of reasons.
There's the line that Sephiroth and Cloud and then Zack have of in this post, it's just as worlds unite, so too do they part. But who's to say that they can't unite again?
I think they're going to fully homestuck it, and they're going to go, this whole shenanigan, we're not able to stop Sephiroth from collapsing all these timelines into a single perfect timeline, but we can rejigger this such that this is at the expense of Sephiroth creating the timeline where we get everyone lives in some capacity or another, and it might not be our Biggs or our Aerith, but it's a Biggs and a Aerith.
Yeah, I buy that. I think that's correct. I think that like the idea that Nomura and the staff are trying to present is the idea of everyone's going to end up in a better position than they were in the original game.
Yeah, it's the other repeated line, which is, it's sinister, but also it works. It's not death, it's a reunion.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not going to be, we are not going to use the Dragon Balls to wish Aerith back to life. But we will see Aerith alive at the end of this game.
Right. I buy that, because it's like this is still kind of about like the weirdness of timelines and about fighting against fate and kind of and goodbyes, right? Like the video game is also very much about like saying goodbyes and making peace with those goodbyes that you've got to say, and kind of what happens afterwards when you do say goodbye, and like how to like what comes next and how to deal with it, and how to maybe even see somebody again, right? Like
and I don't know how much of this is specifically Kingdom Hearts and how much of it is Nomura's belief structure in general, or like his values when it comes to writing narratives. But it's like, obviously the themes of friendship are important in Kingdom Hearts, and they are carrying over into Rebirth as well. The themes about them is about friendship, but it's, as the games progress in Kingdom Hearts, at least it's later on, is that friendship changes and you grow up and you drift apart, you move or whatever, life gets in the way that you cannot hang on to those friendships as much. But you can always call that person.
Right.
If you wanted to, you could call them and rekindle that friendship.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of in a more mature the difference between sparkling grape juice and champagne.
I am a firm believer in the secret technique of just messaging someone out of the blue, like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 7 years. How's it going?
Yeah.
How are you? Yeah.
Like the equivalent of Final Fantasy. This is goodbyes, parting, death, erasure, stuff like that. No one has ever truly forgotten, but in a world of magic, that means a lot more than, you can go visit your grandma's grave and talk to her.
Sure.
In a world where magic exists, it might mean that a version of Aerith can come back.
In a world where magic exists, it might mean that you did in some alternate timeline actually succeed in saving Aerith, and your situation's just so fucked now that you are both living in the reality where she died, but perceiving the reality in which she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also really I think that, one of the fun things about, again, we were kind of talking about how, each video game kind of has to also have its own arc. The characters in the video game have to have their own arc. And this video game is about how Cloud is kind of losing his mind, right?
Yeah,
right.
And then at the end of the video game, he's still losing his mind.
Yes.
Super hard. He's not processing that Aerith has died at all.
So the thing is that he fixed a lot of brain problems throughout the course of this game. Then at the end, Sephiroth is like, here's some new ones.
Here you go.
Would you like some negative character development as a treat?
I think you left these here.
Tifa's like, I just fixed that.
No.
She's so mad. She finally fixed him.
Cloud, I don't want these. You can take them back.
It's so tragic.
It's
but,
like the episode of Columbo where he gets a new coat and he's uncomfortable, so he keeps trying to lose it. But people keep bringing it back to him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but like I don't know. I'm really interested in the whole, like, being able to still see an Aerith who is definitely actually Aerith and not just a figment of his imagination, right?
Yeah, and that's what kind of makes it interesting, is that this is very much not Sephiroth messing with Cloud.
Right.
That's Aerith.
Yeah, that's Aerith, for sure.
And apparently Nanaki and Yuffie can also tell that she's there.
Right, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
You can't see her.
But like Nanaki like calls out to her.
Yeah.
And Aerith and Yuffie, as we know, has ninja senses.
Yeah.
Right.
And has actually the entire game been constantly able to slightly see through the fourth wall.
Oh, good for her.
So like
she is Deadpool, is what I'm saying.
That's why she knows how to dance out of nowhere when we first get to the gold saucer. That's
Yeah.
how she just knows how to do that dance number.
Cloud,
Yeah.
you simply have to do this. Otherwise, this would be a very short video game.
That's right.
I do hope that Aerith gets to be a weird Force ghost for Cloud throughout part 3.
God,
and
I
just
hope
like
so, please.
You know, she's just in the background mugging at the camera and like making little like elbowing Cloud and making little jokes about what's happening. And he has to be like shut up.
Like the Sorrow in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, or just turn them into 24 and 21.
Cloud,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Aerith being like, Cloud, I need you to do this for me, okay? I really need you to tell her again to ask if you can see the scar. Please, Cloud, for me.
Cloud, please, for me. I need to see the scar, Cloud.
This might be the only chance I get to see them, Cloud, please.
Aerith, just what I want is someone to do the entire bit where 24 is telling 21 about the afterlife. And just Aerith being like, yeah, did you know you don't get your soul until you're like 6 months old?
Yeah, until you get them, they're just like a soulless husk.
It's just a little crying, pooping thing.
Hey, that guy from Arrested Development's here. No, he's not, Aerith.
No, he's not, Aerith.
He's
I
still
know
alive.
he's not dead. You can't trick me. I have Google.
Well, he's dead in my timeline, maybe not yours.
That's not how that works. All right. Well, I tried. I do think it's interesting that they don't show the water burial, the extremely famous water burial in a video game that is like very dedicated to like the video game that is extremely dedicated to recreating like very specific moments in Final Fantasy VII. Like they don't show the water burial, which is almost certainly for a reason. Like that is that is
a very explicit omission that will lead to something. And I'm betting that is because they wanted to keep that ambiguity of whether or not Aerith is truly dead, you know?
Well, as I say, like that one post gets into them, and it's a thing that makes sense to me because it would also track with how Cloud acts in those cutscenes, which is they can't show it because they needed to make it clear that Cloud himself isn't entirely aware that Aerith is dead.
Right, he is not actually like processing that the Aerith in their timeline has died. Like she has definitely died.
Yeah.
Just judging by the way everybody else is reacting, their Aerith is super dead, right?
Because like the whole final cutscene between them is Cloud saying like, is Aerith saying like, I gotta stay here for now.
Right.
And Cloud going, will you be okay? And she's like, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
They do the callback to the scene at the fucking remake. That's because I've been replaying remake. That is line for line what he says when they try to go their separate ways before he goes back, before they go and do Wall Market together.
Yeah.
It's literally, she walks him to the entrance to Sector 7, and then she says, well, I've got to go. And he says, will you be okay going back? And Aerith says, what would you do if I didn't? And in the original, if I said I wasn't okay, and in the original and remake, he says, well, I'll go with you. And in Rebirth, he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Because at least some part of him's aware of that he can't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he can't go with her, unfortunately. So, like, he is sort of aware that she's died, but he's really obviously, like, blocking it out. It's like why he acts so weird at the pool where the water burial has ostensibly just happened, but we missed it.
Because he's completely dissociated through that entire thing.
Yeah,
Like,
he's not like sad or anything. He's just checked out.
Mm-hmm. Or is he dissociating? Because maybe he's right.
Well, because again, like there exists the possibility that he can perceive that version of events that we saw cutting in through the cutscene, where he's holding her lifeless body, where he is holding her not lifeless body,
right?
And
that she's just still alive for him, and he's like, oh, what, like there's some version of him that's like grieving that she's dead, and some part of him that's like, oh, good, I saved my friend.
Right, my
and
friend
like,
is fine. She's just got to stay behind.
But he's only got the one brain, and he can't process those two trains of thought at the same time.
You know what has not left my mind since we finished this game that I'm like, I'm scared of almost?
What's that?
When they look up at the sky, who's right?
Oh, yeah.
Cloud's right.
Cloud's right.
You think Cloud's right?
Yeah,
I think Cloud is right.
Because I think it's like, I'm sure the other people can't see it because they do not have they don't have the Spike Spiegel eyes that Cloud has now.
Mm-hmm.
But
where he has one eye in the present and one eye in the past. Right.
But in Zach and Biggs's timeline, everyone could see it.
Well, yeah, because they're dead.
Because that's like an alternate timeline where the world is already collapsing in on itself, right? But like Cloud is seeing things separately. Oh, go ahead, Oates.
The thing is I think as a very fun little joke, Sephiroth showed up and he swapped two Clouds.
Oh. Ooh.
So there is a Cloud that is grieving over the fact that Aerith died even though he saved her.
Right.
And another Cloud who is incredibly confused because he did in fact save her. Or he did in fact miss, but there she is alive.
Right. Ooh. Interesting.
Because here's the thing that took me a while to piece together, but now I have finally realized it, which is that Zach, Unconscious Cloud, and Biggs were pulled to the Terrier timeline.
Right.
The Zach that we saw at the end of the game, at the end of Remake, who says, was that all of them? Mm-hmm. Was in fact the same Zach that Cloud, that met up with our Cloud, and Cloud inherited his legacy, right?
Right. The Cloud, the Zach that dies at the end of Crisis Core, right?
Right, yeah. But the Whispers pulled him and Biggs and Unconscious Cloud into a separate timeline.
Right.
So, and that helped clear things up for me, because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. How can there be two Clouds? Because there were two Clouds, because they were pulled to a timeline in the future where all that shit still happened.
Right.
Because that's how Marlene and Elmira can know who Cloud is.
Yeah.
And they just think that, oh, Zach found Cloud in the rubble like he found Aerith and rescued both of them.
Yeah, and it is really interesting. I kind of understand to what end that happened, because it was like the White Whispers who pull Cloud and Zach, and Biggs got pulled there obviously by the Black Whispers, because we see that.
Yeah.
But like, I understand that the reason it had to happen is because, again, Aerith is doing some cheeky insider trading with the future, and she is in cahoots, ostensibly. Some version of Aerith is in cahoots with the planet, so the White Whispers, right? To make sure things don't get destroyed by meteor. But to do that, a functioning holy materia has to exist in the primary timeline, right? Like the one that we are currently going through. The Beagle timeline, right. Like, a functioning holy materia has to exist in the Beagle timeline, but unfortunately, there isn't one, because for whatever reason, our Aerith does not have, like, the Whispers took the magic out
Yeah.
of that holy material. So we
it's
had
Steel
to
Ball
swap
Run
them.
rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Which is the body of Christ is a true miracle that can only exist in one reality.
Oh,
Saturn.
yeah!
Saturn, you said that, and suddenly like 10 things clicked into place in my brain.
My God.
Oh my God, you're right. It is just Steel Ball Run.
Yeah.
And that means that in the third game we'll get a cool thing where Cloud taps into the spiral that connects all natural phenomena, and then it can shoot out his fingernails like bullets.
Good for him. He deserves that. But, yeah, so, like, all of this had to happen the way it did, at least in part, so that Aerith could give a Cloud... Oh, this is so confusing. Aerith could give a Cloud of functioning version of Holy, and then that Holy could get pushed over to the Beagle timeline.
Yeah. So here's the way that I think it worked out, which is that. So I'm looking at the live stream, like the thing I sent earlier on Twitter. So because the thing that it took me a while to get, but I had to piece together is that the date that Cloud and Aerith have, and at the middle of chapter 14, where they go to they just walk around Midgar for a bit, was in fact a completely separate timeline from everything else that was happening with Zack.
Yes. Yeah. It's totally disconnected
Because it's a different Beagle, or a different stamp.
And this was our Beagle Aerith was doing some sneaky insider trading with herself in the Spitz universe.
Yes.
And said, hey, make sure your white materia is good to go because I'm going to need that backup.
Right.
Which is why they were able to go on that date, and then she was able to give it to Cloud, and Cloud was able to bring it back to the Beagle universe. And now they have a functioning white materia.
Very funny that we have to denote this via dogs, by the way.
I love
that for
it.
me as a dog lover.
It's-
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, this is important because, again, like, during the actual meat of the game that isn't in, like, the stuff where we know we're jumping around timelines, we don't really see a whole lot of dog in this video game.
No, we don't.
No.
There's not a lot of dog.
There are not a lot of loose stamps with which to confirm our position in the timeline in, like, the main game. It mostly happens in
totally
plot.
intentional. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was
It's infuriating.
They are very
Exactly.
they're very conservative about showing us the dog.
They don't want to show us Stamp until the exact moment we need to see Stamp to make us confused.
Now
Like, the only thing we know is that Remake was in the Stamp universe except for the in the Beagle Stamp universe, except for the end credit stinger.
Yeah.
I don't think we know what universe most of the game takes place in.
Most of Rebirth, like the Rebirth with Cloud in the party, is Beagle universe. We do see some graffiti for Stamp and some posters here and there, and it's Beagle universe. Most of the Zack stuff takes place in Terrier universe. The only exception is the bit where he goes to the reactor to meet Biggs is a different universe. And
that, like, I know that I understand that because it's the thing that Sephiroth says, which is that it's kind of it's a fate thing. It's a fate go thing, right? It's a pruning theoretical phenomenon. When you make a decision, timelines fork off, right? Like both timelines play out at the same time, and it's denoted for some reason by different dogs because Nomura is being funny.
Because Nomura has not considered the possibility that he's created a scenario where there is now an extremely limited number of timelines that this pruning theoretical universe can generate.
Yeah, there's only so many dog mascots.
I can't wait till we get to Mexican Street Dog.
I can't wait till we get to the Chihuahua universe. I think that'd be really funny to have just like a little teeny tiny Chihuahua wearing a giant army helmet, right?
I just meant
that's the universe. That's the universe where Yuffie's the protagonist of the entire game.
I just meant those that new breed of like literally hairless like Sphinx dogs.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's gonna be one of them. We're gonna get a Doberman timeline. Please look forward to the I mean, as a dog person, I think this is great.
When's the demon timeline?
Where's the golden retriever timeline?
Yeah,
where's the Boston Terrier timeline?
Well, that is Terrier universe.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's not like a Boston Terrier though. I mean, like,
no, it's more of a Yorkshire.
Yeah,
like a Boston Terrier is like a French bulldog
like a hideous beast terrier.
Well, you have to be
dogs are loving and sweet. You
They
take
are.
that back.
They are. They got some funny faces.
When are we going to get the Bowie timeline? I want to know that.
Yeah, when the stamp's just a little fat old princess.
Yeah, exactly. I love that plan.
When is the bulldog timeline?
God, please.
When
That
is
one seems
the
like a good-
Zangief?
I'm honestly surprised that none of them. Wait. Yeah, no, none of them were bulldog timelines, which is weird to me
Yeah.
considering how much bulldogs are like.
Army dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that
I
is
know.
a marine ass dog.
I've noticed that
feel
they
the
are
thing is
all so far at least smaller dogs.
Yeah, because this is a video game made in Japan
Yeah.
where most of the dogs are small because everybody lives in small
I want
apartments.
to see Husky timeline.
God, please. I want that so badly.
But no, like it's my other question I have about this is why Biggs? Zach, I
don't
understand.
know.
Zach, because obviously Zach was Aerith's first love, and like he has a strong connection to Cloud, and there's like
Sure.
and Zach has ties to Sephiroth in general. Like I don't understand that he's important to this. Why Biggs? Out of everyone else, why Biggs?
I think the reason that they picked Biggs is because you needed an Avalanche member to ground him in Midgar.
Mm-hmm.
We can't use Jessie.
Because we already did that last game. She got character development last game.
And so it was a toss-up between him and Wedge, we are currently in a superposition of we actually don't know what happened to him.
I actually, you know what?
I think it was Big. I'm sorry, real quick.
That's all right.
I think it was Biggs because of the three, Biggs is the one who is most likely to go through with a suicide bombing.
Yeah,
that's true,
That's
yeah.
true.
Like
That's
like
true.
Wedge is not like that energetic about it, and Jesse is, I think, pragmatic enough to go like, yeah, no, but maybe you could find some people and figure something out.
Right.
Biggs is absolutely the kind of guy like, well, fuck, I guess I have to blow myself up.
Right.
It's the only way.
I also think, though, that, like, so the first game, like, Biggs and Wedge are in the first game, and they're characters, and they're more characters than they were in, like, the original game, obviously. But the first game is more about, like, giving Jessie, like, a real character, right? And
Right.
so she gets expanded on a lot. The second game is, well, we're expanding on Biggs and giving him a real character, right? So, and since Wedge is still kind of a missing element after he vanishes from Shinra Tower, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. He falls off and the ghost's taken away.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know what happened to Wedge. So I'm pretty sure Wedge will be our Avalanche member for
Yeah.
That would be
three.
cool.
I like the idea that he shows up like he in a post-apocalyptic future way where he has like a single robot arm or whatever. And it's like,
Mhm.
wow, Wedge, what happened to you? Where'd you get that? And he just sort of looks at it, it's like, I have no idea.
I thought the joke was going to be like him looking at Barrett and going, you don't want to know the answer to that one.
I'll be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, Barrett, man. I always thought your gun arm was cool, but I just sort of woke up with this one day.
Or he's just like, what are you talking about?
I came to eating a corn dog and saw that my hand was a robot hand, and I don't remember how it got like that. Check this out. I keep all my Fort Condor pieces in it.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I can hear them rattling around every time you move your hand, even a little bit.
God. Fuck.
Look, Barrett, every time I move my arm, it costs the Cartoon Network $42.
No, but I think I'm obviously as no more as brave a soldier. I'm obviously fascinated by all the interdimensional existential things that they're trying to pull in this game. I think it's fascinating. These your choices making differences, your how it's affecting reality, branching timelines, then the idea that they're not splits in the timeline, they are all running parallel to each other, is what's fascinating to me, right? Like these are, they're not coming from a single timeline that is exploding outward based on everyone's decisions. It's like these are the dogs indicate that it's kind of like they're kind of like running in sync, and you can cross between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they're all branching from each other constantly.
Yeah.
It's not just like one forks into like one forks into two, and then that main branch still continues to fork. It's like it's coming from all of them concurrently.
Yeah.
This is the timeline where Hojo's the Lost Belt King, and it's much like our current one, except for some reason all clothing for women has been outlawed.
No, Hojo, why would you
No,
do that?
Hojo, not like this. It's funny because I was so sure that like if they do actually kill Aerith at the end of the game, like I would be devastated. Like this is the big thing, right? Like killing Aerith,
Right.
like Aerith dying is like the biggest thing that FF7 is known for, and like I was expecting to just have my heart shattered in a million pieces by how well they flesh it out and expand upon it.
Sure.
But instead, they're like, no, we're gonna make it cool.
We're gonna do something with it.
You won't have time to cry because Zack and Cloud are teaming up.
Too bad.
And I do also like, again, still, it's like, it did the thing that I wasn't sure they were going to do, which is, no, we're still going to hang on to the hope of you maybe being able to do the thing everyone asked for and save Aerith. But we're not paying that off this game.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
We're confirming that it's still possible, and we're leaving that on the table for next time.
Right.
Which is
Everything's
just like
still up in the air. It was great.
Phenomenal show of restraint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a game
So,
that
like-
has shown no restraint.
Yeah, and to like really still kind of hold that up in the air and be like, no, because this is a middle game. I think that's the thing that like a lot of people who, and I mean, I do have
And
like my weird conflicted feelings about the ending for sure. Just
Yeah.
Mostly more so because like, it's a thing that, I mean, we don't need to fight Sephiroth at the end of every video game. I know that, I mean, there's only one left, but we didn't
Right.
really need to fight Sephiroth at the end of this video game. Just make Jenova into a big boss fight, right?
Mhm.
But like, I don't know how to explain it.
No, I totally get what get your concerns about, like your feelings about it, because like, yeah, I feel the same way, where it's like the conflict of it being like, yeah, it's a middle game. It's not the actual ending. So like, of course, it didn't have a satisfying conclusion that you can walk away from and feel good.
Exactly. That's the thing that people are like, that's kind of like the thing that people are chafing against, I think, is that
Yeah.
they're not realizing that this is, like we said, the first video game is a standalone video game, or it was potentially
Yeah.
a standalone video game, right? The second video game is now like, no, we are making a third one. This can be the interquel, right? Like it can
Yeah.
be the middle. It can be the middle game
The-
in a trilogy.
This can afford to make risky options in storytelling,
Right.
by way of going, we don't have to end with the conflict resolved.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have to pay
It's-
everything off just yet.
It's like I said, it's the same thing I feel about with Mankind Divided, where it's like, yeah, that didn't have an ending because they intended to make a third game. Mankind Divided didn't get that third game, which is why it stings so much and why it feels
Right.
so weak, because this has to serve as a conclusion. But
Well, also, Mankind Divided was hurt because they didn't intend to make a third game. They were told
Yeah.
partway through
Yeah.
development, you are making a third game, just cut this game off halfway through.
and then they went, are we? And they went, no.
No,
Never
fuck
mind.
you. Never
And this game,
mind.
but it does still have a similar thing of like, well, yeah, it is part of the design, but you still have this bit where it's like, the conclusion of, and I'll say this as someone who, again, is not really familiar with FF7 original that well.
Sure.
The conclusion of Rebirth to me is not very satisfying.
No.
But I don't think
Yeah.
it's because it's bad. I think it's because it's like, well, there's a ton of shit it can't get to yet because it's a thing.
It's
But as a result, it's like, I don't think it like stands on its own, really.
right.
But and
It's-
that's like, I don't think it's negative. I think it's just how they made it.
It reminds
Yeah.
me. It reminds me a lot about. Weirdly enough, it reminds me a lot of AVGN's review of Earthbound, which he talks about how Earthbound being one of the most important RPGs of the SNES era, and how it by design breaks a lot of conventions, and it has fun making fun of the player and doing a lot of weird things, and like making the player go through these things that are like dumb and frustrating and goofy, and that's by design, and it pulls off these things very well because it's intentionally being obtuse and confusing. But it is being obtuse and confusing.
Yeah, it
And-
actually, you know what it, oh, go ahead.
If you look at it if you take a step back, you're like, yeah, the charm of it is that it's doing these things, but it's still doing those things, and
You know what it
have
makes
to.
me think of?
What's that?
Very relevant to like the last year is Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, for me, I was thinking of like the older classic and going like it's like The Empire Strikes Back. That it's a film that doesn't hold up on its own because it's very aggressively
the middle story.
One. It's
right.
like it's like maybe the best of the three, but it's still like you can't watch it by itself.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Like,
right.
And Across the Spider-Verse is a great movie, and it's like it is very Rebirth core because it's so big and loud and flashy and bombastic, and oh my god, it's doing so many fucking things, and you know, it has so much like work poured into it. But it has like a not very satisfying ending because it's not an ending. It's just the middle story. It can't end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like fucking Rebirth is a lot like that.
Yeah, you have to understand that it's not the ending, but it still doesn't have a satisfying ending. It has an excuse for not having one, but it doesn't make the ending satisfying because of that excuse.
Right. You know, and like I get it, I understand it, and so it's just kind of like, you know, it's weird. I guess it's just kind of weird to be held in limbo like that because like it's another thing that like they don't make video games like that anymore. They've never really made video games like this, right? Like they've never, because video games as like a sales enterprise and video games as a development thing have never really ever been able to say like, we are guaranteed giving you a third game, so we can definitely just make this second game very obviously an interquel, right?
And
it's like they didn't make video games like that. They also didn't make FF7 like that,
right?
But now that they can, they are, and it's like, this is a
weird
the hubris that the gods would strike you down for. But I like your attitude.
It's a weird thing. It's like you mentioned that, and that made me think of this. Is that like you don't make games like this? You've never made games like this. Mm-hmm. You especially don't make games like this now, where you need your one game to sell a bazillion copies in order to stay afloat, which means it needs to keep making money, which means you make DLC for it, which they're explicitly not doing for this game.
And I think the high risk of it is also what makes it so much more rewarding in the long run, because everybody knows there's going to be a third game. Everyone's buying the second game knowing there's going to be a third one.
What's going to happen is that when, like I said, this is like the Star Wars trilogy, where it's like, when part 3 comes out, the problem with part 2 will go away.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like how, like, again, speaking of Star Wars, how the fucking, like, if The Rise of Skywalker had been a good movie, it would have resolved. Like, I like The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
But it has problems. And if The Rise of Skywalker had been a good movie instead of a bad movie, it would have resolved The Last Jedi's problems, right?
It would have elevated it.
It would have elevated it. But instead, because The Rise of Skywalker is a bad movie, it makes the whole sequel trilogy worse in comparison.
Because they were like, hold on, we are so afraid of Rian Johnson, we have to accidentally prove him right by going back to J.J. Abrams and having him just completely squander this whole fucking thing.
We didn't plan out our fucking... You know who definitely has his like magnum opus sequel trilogy video game series planned out to a fucking letter? Definitely Tetsuya Nomura.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, they're totally, like, they squandered Star Wars, but I don't think... I mean, fuck, they might screw the pooch in, like, the most incredible way ever.
Oh, I don't think that's possible anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's possible, but only insofar as, like, it's not something that would happen because no one thought about it, which is what happened to Star Wars. It would be, Nomura thought about it exactly as much as he felt the need to think about it. Or, you know, Nomura and also the extended, like, directors and writing staff, you know, the project. And that is somehow either less or not in the way that everyone on the internet spent years and years and years and years and years thinking about it.
Yeah. Right. I think the only way I can see this going poorly is if by some freak occurrence Microsoft buys Square Enix.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen anymore.
That's the only way this can go badly.
Right.
I think Sony is more likely to buy Square Enix, if only because of the... I think significantly more so than anything else is just like the comparative reduction in legal friction of a Japanese company buying a Japanese company.
Yeah.
Right.
That's-
But also like Microsoft Microsoft spent billions of dollars on Activision, or Xbox did rather, and the rest of Microsoft went, now hold the fuck on.
Yeah.
You're telling me you spend all that money and you're still not profitable.
You still haven't made any new video games?
Just the world where somehow Microsoft gets away with it, and then immediately they're like, and the budget is in half.
That's right. We're just going to slash the budget.
Put the game out now. And they're like, we're not even close to done now.
Yeah, like that's the only way that video game could be bad. But like, I mean, like they've already said that this game is like, it's in development. Hopefully, God willing, it'll be done in 2 years so that I'm not an old woman. I'm not in my fucking, ancient times by the time the third one comes out.
I think what will happen is this Summer Game Fest, we will get a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. Mm-hmm. And that will end with 2025.
Right.
And 2026 will
2025 and 2025 at Summer Game Fest or at Game Awards 2024, we'll get Rebirth Remake Part 3 2026.
Right.
I think that is a likely scenario that is about 40% wishful thinking.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's a little wishful thinking, but I think it's plausible.
If they said late 2026 for Rebirth Part 3 or Remake Part 3, I buy that totally. If they were just like, it's going to be fucking Q3 2026, so like sometime before Christmas, like October, September, November.
And I think it's possible because it gives us the realistic possibility of them going, we had to push it back a little bit. Okay, it's early 2027 or whatever. And it's like, so it ended up being like 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is like the worst possible case scenario, but also like not outrageous.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be another 4-year gap between. I mean, I could be wrong, but they've already. We were talking about like the fact that the world map is so big, but you actually can't explore a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that a lot of that world map is already built, and they're just waiting for you to get the high wind, right?
Well, let's say some part of it's like, for all we know, Part 3 is going to be a significantly cheaper video game because so much of the budget went into Part 2, right? Where it's like, we have this whole open world, but we actually only spent like this is only like a remake scale of video game because the rest of it's just there for like we put some new side quests there, but like it's still the same fucking environment,
The thing that I can think about that will remind me that this is going to happen relatively quickly is that there's no way they're putting this game on the PS6.
No. It's got to come out on the PS5, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's not a chance that it's going to exceed the PS5's lifespan, which is halfway done apparently. So
Sony is liars.
Yeah. But
like, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm letting myself feel a little bit of hope that I will play Part 3 relatively soon because they're not making DLC. It's like, okay, they're not doing DLC. This video game is done except for bug fixes, right?
They don't feel the need to fill for time.
Right, exactly. That's what Intermission was. Intermission
was just that, an intermission.
It was an intermission. It was like, we need to make something that can only run on PS5 so we can test that, like, all of that fucking infrastructure. And we're going to introduce Yuffie, and then we're going to, like, we'll have what we need to know that Rebirth can run on a PS5. Cool, we're done.
Give her a little plot. We'll fill out her background a little bit to set her up for being a main character in the next game.
Intermission
but you don't need any of that shit.
Intermission was Yuffie getting on stage doing a Daffy Duck dance to a crowd of no one.
That's correct.
I was literally the only thing that, like, I was surprised to see didn't seem to come up anywhere in FF7, maybe, or in Rebirth rather, and that maybe we just didn't see it because it might have been side quest stuff. Is that Intermission does spend a relatively significant amount of time, like, reflecting on her upbringing and, like, her relationship to her dad and things of this nature that just don't come up in this game at all. And, like, I wonder, like, are we gonna get to Wutai in the next game and there be a whole extended bit where we have this Yuffie-centric...
I would not be surprised if Wutai is the opening of Part 3.
No, because I've got to go to Northern Crater first.
I disagree. I think the opening scene is going to be in Rocket Town. I think that's a really wonderful way to like kind of open and jar us and like put us in a reality of sorts. And it also creates the important thing of we need to set Sid up so that we can pay off later for when we go return to Rocket Town.
And I'll say this as someone who still has no idea what to expect.
Sure.
I think there's exists a distinct possibility that we're going to get that third game, and the script for it is not going to in any way resemble the rest of Final Fantasy VII.
That is
very true.
extremely likely. Yes.
I think that is entirely possible. I think because again, we just finished disc 1 on on 2 games that took us a combined like 120 hours.
Right. Yeah.
So if they're gonna cram the entire rest of this game and the last 2 discs into one game, they're gonna have to change some shit.
Look, you just do you do a Midgar style game again, but instead of being in Midgar, it's in Wutai. There you go.
There you go.
You somehow rewrite all of FF7 to take all of the last like 2 discs of FF7 to somehow take place in or proximal to Wutai.
And then you change it to a real-time beat-em-up game starring only one character, and you name that character Kazuma Kiryu.
Yeah.
And you have Wutai Yakuza.
I see. Okay. God, what else? Yeah, I don't know, like, if I'm pointing at the stands and saying where the game is gonna start, like, because we did this, last time, talking about, like, well, we're gonna definitely start with Calm Flashback. I'm, like, thinking, because, like, we go, so in original game, we go to Icicle Inn and we snowboard, right? Because that's, like, the thing, because, like, again, I've heard people complain about the tonal shift after Dying dies and Rebirth.
And then you do a turret section.
Like they've never played Final Fantasy VII.
Like they've never played,
It's
like where Dio shows up after Dying dies, and I'm like, I'm sorry, do you remember?
His extremely funny boat truck.
In his funny boat truck, and Dying is still like his body is still warm on the ground, and people are like, that's weird. I'm like,
yeah,
we go
snowboarding
snowboarding 15 minutes after Aerith dies. Like, calm down. That does not bother me.
We go snowboarding on Aerith's body.
We basically do. Yeah.
Rigor mortis kicks in, and then we just start doing kick flips on her.
Yeah, like it's basically
what she
that.
would have wanted.
It's what she would have wanted. Totally. Aerith would love it if you snowboarded with her body. Are you fucking kidding me?
Here's the thing: we obviously can't literally snowboard on Aerith's body, but someone with money and time and an interest in snowboarding could do the funniest thing in the world and make a custom like snowboard deck. That is just like a Laura Palmer-esque picture of Aerith with her hands folded over her chest.
I would love that.
For the live stream.
You have to do sick flips off of me, Cloud.
If you can't do it for a snowboard, that's okay. Just get someone to do it for a custom skateboard deck. I'm sure you can get that done for like less than $200.
Absolutely. That's extremely funny. But no, where are we starting next? Probably not Icicle Inn. Honestly, Rocket Town or Wutai are both good options.
Yeah, I think
you could just reorient where Rocket Town is.
Yeah, because I think the way you set it up is you need a sort of set piece to start off in, and a place to do a tutorial battle, and you need a city. So yeah, Rocket Town or Wutai would be a good place to pick that up.
I think I'm going to make a vote for Wutai because it gives you a scenario in which you have a compelling reason to start with, okay, here's your tutorial, you're just controlling Yuffie.
Yeah, that's
And then you do a Yuffie tutorial by herself, and then eventually you rejoin with the rest of the party.
Sure. And then because the game kind of, like before, like the game ends on the Wutai intrigue with Rufus, right?
Right.
Before we do the actual
His bad pseudonym.
His bad pseudonym? Like, what's your fucking problem, homie? But before we get like the final proper ending of like the gorgeous cutscene ending, which is just so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
The cutscenes in this game are like immaculate, by the way. But like the game ends almost on the Wutai like plot line, so I figure it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to start there and like begin to like not wrap that up but maybe do something with it because they've been alluding to it for 2 games now.
Yeah, and again, we are made to understand they have some interest in Yuffie's dad being a real character. Question mark. And my understanding is he is not really in the first game. Like he's a guy that you can meet, but he's not like a character.
There's a
he's
very
just like a shitty dad.
There's a very interesting thing that they're doing with Wutai in this new continuity that leads me to believe that they will make Wutai a big deal in part 3.
Yeah, we could do it. Probably, honestly, if I was gonna say anything, what we'll do is we'll do Rocket Town and then contrive a reason to go to Wutai from there, and then go to the crater. Like, I don't know how that would work, but I could see that.
Yeah,
they both are really good for setting up like Act 1 plots that we resolve later in Act 2 and 3.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of things that go on in Wutai that you can split it up into 2 parts, and Rocket Town kind of by virtue of what happens in Rocket Town needs to be in 2 parts.
Yeah, especially because, and most importantly, I don't think we're going straight to Icicle Inn because Icicle Inn has like extremely critical Aerith backstory that is never mentioned in the base video game, and I won't be saying for Saturn's sake. That is established in Icicle Inn, and I think it would be weird to open on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be strange to open on Aerith plot points after everything that happened.
Right.
It'd be more interesting to do that later on as like as like a way to start us back onto the main plot that thematically resolves all 3 games.
Right. Because all we have left to like be vague, like in terms of places to like new places to go, is Rocket Town, Icicle Inn, and so like the northern continent in general, right?
Yeah.
Rocket Town, the northern continent, Medial, Wutai, and I guess we're not doing Bone Village because Bone Village is just kind of like a silly little gimmick town that you never go back to ever again.
Oh, but I cannot wait to go back to Medial.
But we will go to Medial for sure. Medial is really cool. And that's
kind of it.
That's kind of it. There's the return to Midgar, right? Like you go back to Midgar for like in like a very bombastic way.
Yeah.
And you go back to Junon, but like those are not new places. Those are places we've already been.
And I'm betting in part 3, those areas will be blocked off in a significant way. Like you will not get the full breadth of Junon to explore again.
Yeah, no, they may not let you go back into Junon, but they'll like give you the story bit where it's like, we have moved you to the cordoned off bit of Junon where plot happens, and we're gonna move you out when you're done.
Yeah,
sure.
I also wonder, to an extent, maybe the way they're cutting down on production time is by making it more like part 1, but on a broader scale.
So more like less of an open world and
less open world wander. Because
that's what I was suggesting as a joke. Is why I'm like, no, it's the Wutai game. There's just it's just gonna be Midgar again, but it's Wutai now.
But like because at this point, there's kind of less time to meander, you know?
Right.
So I think eliminating the open world aspect or keeping that just restricted to part 2 would make sense, and then you can just have this linear path, with obvious side quests and branching off, but not so much the exploration part of it.
And like the other thing is that like by the second half of disc 2, you're not really exploring anymore.
No, you're on a time limit.
Yeah,
like you're very explicitly on time.
plus, yeah, go ahead, Oates.
It's also like by that point it is very aggressively like you're using the high wind so that you can move from one city to another.
Yeah.
And you can really like if you pace it correctly and do it correctly, you can make it so that the northern continent is kind of the only place you get to explore in. And then from that point on, it's literally the airship flies around the world like in a loading screen and you just land inside of a small hub.
Like FF10.
Yeah.
Well, they gave us the airship segment. They gave us a preview of what that's going to look like in this game. Flying around a tiny Bronco. Except it's going to be that, but it's going to be higher up in the sky because you're in an airship.
Pretty much. Yeah, because you can only land at certain landing strips and stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
I was going to say, like Oates was nailed it exactly, which is, part 3, you get the high wind. There's no reason for you to explore on foot anymore. Like, it's...
Right.
You get to a world map and you select which city you want to go to.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Which would, like... Because again, I think also part of it is like, some part of me expects they're not going to use all the world map, not just because of like, okay, you don't need to explore, but it's also like, logistically, you don't want to put all that dozens and dozens of gigabytes of world space in and then not do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right.
It would make more sense if you go, well, since we're co-developing this, we can take out the specific bits that we need, and you can probably fast travel to them from the Highwind or whatever, but we're not actually going to necessarily do all the exploring stuff because Rebirth was the exploring game.
That's exactly.
Right. That makes sense.
I think
that
that
actually makes a lot of sense.
I think that, you know, their options, because if they're making these games simultaneously, their options are they're using the same world map like you do in you know Spider-Man 2, which means they don't have to rebuild it because it's already done. But all the they have to invent whole new Chadley stuff for you to do, right?
Right.
In that open world.
And that's just not, that's you just be rehashing it the same way. And like, you can't really do like a Tears of the Kingdom style, like giant upheaval that radically changes the world map, right?
Right, because not enough time has
You can't
passed.
really do that. Yeah, exactly.
And also, you didn't develop the third part after the second part. You developed at least some of it contemporaneously.
Yeah. So,
Right.
so the other option is you eliminate the open world altogether, and you just make a very big world map that you can point to and fly into different cities into. Kind of like what FF10 and 10.2 do once you get the airship there.
And that's kind of what I think they're probably going to do, because the excuse you have is like, well, we spent all this time developing the open world and all these locations in the second game, but that just means that those assets exist so that we can, you know, send you there, and that the city's already done. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time developing what Junon looks like because they made Junon already.
Right.
I just thought of something that would make that even funner.
What's that?
If you did do it that way, wherein you're basically just using the Highwind to travel from place to place, you know what they could do? Is they will eventually just kind of like show you like a drawn out, like far away map that you just kind of travel over, like fly over really quickly. But when you decide to like look up in the map, you go into, because you know, like it much like all other games of this sort, you'd be like, well, okay, so let's access the map inside of the Highwind.
Right, like a galaxy map, like in Mass Effect.
Like in Mass Effect, right?
Right.
What if you did that and it just immediately switched over to the PS1 graphics to show you?
We know they're not
that's
doing that.
Cute. We know that. Yeah, they did that in the Gold Saucer.
Well, because I believe the Fort Condor models for things
Yes.
actually use like higher textured versions of the PS1 models.
All you'd
for,
have
like,
to
enemies
do
and
is
stuff.
just go like, all right, let's access the world map, and it just zooms into the map that you're looking at, and it just switches over to the PS1 graphics.
Yeah,
That would be so cute.
Oh, it's while you were saying that, like before you said it, I was thinking of like Mode 7 airship, like FF6.
I was literally having the same thought, Ben. I'm like, they should go one step further and just make it the FF6 world map.
Yeah,
That would also kick ass. I would love that.
That's like an excuse.
like voxelize it.
That's also an excuse to bring back. We were literally complaining about this in Games Chat the other day in the Discord. By the way, join our Discord. We were complaining about this in Games Chat, where like JRPGs kind of can't or won't do the thing where like you're a giant thing on a map and like the towns are represented by cutesy little icons.
yes.
Right? This is like an excuse to do that again, to like have the Highwind and then just like have little teeny tiny like versions of Mediel and Cosmo Canyon and
We
stuff
must
like that.
return to Overworld.
I would love that. I
Yeah,
actually think that'd
imagine-
be cool.
It would be so cool. Is like the way you navigate between cities is just like the world map. You can't land the ship like on like the field, but you have to steer the ship towards what town you want to go to, and there's a little mini map in the corner that has like little dots on it to indicate the towns that you can visit. You have to like guide your ship to it.
And you
Oh,
can
that'd be so
fly
fucking
around.
cool.
That'd be cute.
And there's a secret boss fight where Gilgamesh is like holding on to Enkidu's talons and trying to chase you.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. That's how you do stuff like the weapon fights. Is that like
yeah, that's
you fly the
literally-
world
by the way,
map and then
Saturn,
you can land in an unmarked area of the world map.
Yeah, Saturn. That was just the dodgeball bonking you against the head again, because there is literally an optional boss in the original game that's like that.
Great.
Yeah, we'll see that.
I would play the soundboard, but we're not in Discord.
We're not in
also,
Discord.
I haven't put that sound on Ben's soundboard for reporting.
Yeah.
God, God, what a good game.
It's a good video game. I feel like we haven't talked about the video game enough, but like,
Well, I feel like there's too much to talk about.
there's
like,
too much to
genuinely.
talk about.
Like,
Genuinely,
like, if there's a takeaway from this, it's like, yeah, we talked a lot about like how we feel about the plot and what we expect from the next game, whatever. We didn't talk a lot about the moment to moment because we would be here for 15 fucking episodes.
Also,
And
we
besides,
did that.
You should just watch. Yeah, just watch the VODs.
That's
if you
actually a
really
good point.
Want the
Yeah.
moment to moment
that's
bits.
true.
Like
that's actually a good point.
I could talk about how much I like playing Queen's Blood, but I did that for like 7 hours on our streams.
Yeah.
and we're gonna
do it
for
once
like
more.
5 or 6 more.
Yeah, so there's no reason to, but like, yeah, no, I mean, it is an immaculate super game. This is such a good fucking year for RPGs. What the hell?
It's really weird that like how
And
stacked this year is.
And we have February 2 coming up in June.
Oh no, I
Where-
know it's gonna kill me.
I'm getting Destiny 2 expansion at the beginning of the month. We're getting
Mm-hmm.
Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. We're getting fucking Elden Ring DLC, and then right at the tail end, at the very beginning of July, we're getting Dawn Trail.
Yeah.
You know what this is?
Also, Tsukuhime's coming out in June, isn't it?
That's right.
Fuck me.
You
I'm,
know what-
I'm so fucked.
You know what specifically this has been a good couple months for is
Hmm.
remakes of JRPGs that we never thought were going to happen. Because we got
yeah.
Reload, now we got Rebirth, and then in a month we're getting the Thousand Year Door remake.
Oh god,
Oh my
is that
God,
in a
that's
month?
right.
That's in May.
Fuck. Well, it's fine.
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
I'll make sure to get a copy eventually because I really want to play it again.
Maybe.
Literally the only reason I'm not buying the Paper Mario remake is because I have so much shit coming out in June that I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I have
Yeah.
to wait. That game's not ever going down in price, so I may as well just wait.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like that game's never gonna go on sale, so you might as well hold on to that money and buy other video games, and then buy it for
I'll get
full
it
price
as a
in 6
Christmas
months.
present or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might. I was thinking about streaming because I know Sarah hasn't gone through Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
No, I don't
It's
know
a really
anything
good
about
fucking
Paper
game.
Mario. Yeah,
I would be interested to see my hang up about Super Paper Mario that I would love to see when this comes out is what or if they change in the updated version of the game vis-a-vis like weird ancillary writing things because it's an insist game and the people who write it insists are fucking like I'm convinced that they will be revealed to be recurrent criminals or something.
Oh yeah, no, aggressively.
So I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think. I know for certain it will not take nearly as much effort to finish as Rebirth did.
No, God, no.
No, God,
Rebirth
no.
fucking-
That video game is 20 hours at most, maybe 30 if you're
Yeah.
taking it real lackadaisical.
God. No,
Anyone
but,
have
I mean,
any final thoughts about Rebirth though?
It's good. I mean, we didn't talk about it because, again, go watch the VODs, but I've never felt like such deep sadness than I did at the Aerith flashback, the trial of Aerith.
Yeah.
Where-
Oh, that one was rough.
It's rough. It's a good video. Folks, it's a good video game. The thing is that, like, they knew they were... I literally think that the trial of Aerith segment exists because they knew what they were going to do with the ending, right? Where they're not going to give us that emotional catharsis of crying over Aerith dying, right? So,
Mhm.
Speak for yourself.
well, I know you, but you're a crybaby. But so they knew we weren't going to get that. I mean, I teared up a little, but like not to the same degree. But they were like, okay, so we're going to do this bit, but we do still want them to cry about Aerith in some way. So we're going to make this sequence where you play as baby Aerith walking around trying to get people to help her because her mom is sick. And literally, I think everybody on stream was boo-hooing.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's agony. It's so sad. I loved it. It's a great video. The thing is, it's a really good video game. It's like a fucking... And the funny part is that, like, talking through... Like, I have my hang-ups about the video game. But, like, as is often the case with The Gorge, just talking through it, I'm like, never mind, I don't have any hang-ups about
Yeah,
the video game.
it's
It's a
amazing.
good video game all the way through.
It's one of those things I kind of realized like relatively recently, which is that like games, reviews and stuff like that, like point scores, like what do you rate it out of 10? is not a accumulation of good things that are subtracted by bad things.
Right.
You can do enough extra credit to get to 100%.
Yeah, this is I think Rebirth is maybe a 7 on 10 video game that has like 8 entire extra points of extra credit staple.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a 15 out of 10 just by sheer dint of effort.
Yeah, the reason why I am definitely not bothered, like, overall by the lack of satisfying ending in the game is because A, we are very clearly getting a third part, and there's no question about it. That game's gonna come out. And two, it's just packed to the gills with so many things that had me like smiling ear to ear.
Oh yeah, just had me screaming with joy, or smiling ear to ear, or crying my eyes out, or just like absolutely enthralled. Yeah, totally.
Again, there's so many moments that just feel like a lesser director would have been like, no, cut that out. That's too far.
Right.
You know, like, hey, it's not just Nanaki shows up in a Shinra Guard uniform. He's gonna do a little dance.
He's gonna pose and he's gonna dance and he's gonna like really incorporate wanting to be good at Queen's Blood into his personality. And there's gonna be a really funny gag where he shows up trying to act like a person, and like the children are horrified by him, which is really good.
And also he is confronted by the reality of a chair. And realizes that he has not rehearsed how to sit down like a human in a chair.
Yeah, and it owns.
We're going to get a great moment where you can fight Andrea and Madame M in Queen's Blood.
Yes.
We're gonna get a moment where Barrett is like unnaturally happy with his sailor uniform.
He loves his fucking sailor uniform. Absolutely.
It's become a problem. He refuses to take it off.
It's great. We're going to get multiple musical numbers, dance sequences, just like everything that Tetsuya Nomura has ever wanted to be in a video game is going in the video game.
Like I said, a lesser director would have not made the play into a dynamic 3-part rhythm minigame.
Right.
My takeaway from FF7 Rebirth is that I have never been so fed by the sheer amount of Saturn and Saturn bait characters that have been shoved into a video game.
Yeah, that's correct.
Like, Yuffie and Ketshi are both just characters I would play in a thing, and at points have literally played that character without knowing that character. Like Pippa for Mask is just basically in every way Ketshi, and I made that character with literally zero awareness of FF7 at all.
That's
There's
correct.
just so much overlap there. And
That-
then conversely, Aerith and Tifa are like characters that Saturn PCs would go for.
Yeah.
That's
You
correct.
know, like, it's just like, it's a whole cast of like freaks that I love in a way I'm kind of shocked by. Like, I didn't know they were all just for me.
There's also, like, speaking of Yuffie, there's the bit where she sings her own theme song.
Yes.
Because she's bored.
Which is also just a thing that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
constantly.
absolutely. Inventing lyrics.
And they bring back the thing that she had, the failed version of it in Intermission, where she has her own like fucking tokusatsu intro sequence.
Yeah.
But in Intermission, she chokes on her own smoke bomb at the end and completely flubs it. And this one, she's rehearsed it enough to not do that.
Much in the same way that Return to Monkey Island was like allowed Ben to realize retroactively that the Monkey Island series was like formative. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake allows Saturn to retroactively realize how formative Final Fantasy VII was to them.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct.
I wanna bring up some more bits of a lesser director would have not gone this far.
Sure.
Which is the end of the chicken side quest.
Yeah.
that just ends like a Yakuza. That's a Yakuza.
That's a
side
Yakuza
So
skit.
good.
That is
It's such a bad side. We're all doing this side quest, and we're like, Nomer, what the fuck are you doing? This sucks.
And then
it ends the way it does, and we're like, never mind. This is the best quest, best side quest ever.
This is no other director is brave enough.
The only one who would do that would be Yoko Taro, but Yoko Taro has never been given a budget to make a bespoke chicken baiting minigame.
All I'm saying is that Tetsuya Nomura has been attempting to put a musical back into a video game for ages.
Yes.
After what happened
Yes.
with 13 Verses.
Mm-hmm.
And he has become more incensed than ever since Yuji Naka was allowed to do it on his own time in his own development
He's
studio.
so mad.
Yeah.
Which is why I believe, as a way to like curtail the end of this episode, I believe that Tetsuya Nomura was the insider who revealed that Yuji Naka was doing secrets.
Oh, I super believe that now. I'm just instantly
He's the
incorporating that into my
whistleblower. He's
belief.
like, I gotta eliminate this competition.
He's like, no, he's like, this motherfucker gets to make a musical, but they won't let me. Fuck you.
Yeah,
The-
no, I 100% believe this one.
Versus,
Oh, yeah.
13 Versus getting canceled, by the way, is the best thing to ever happen to Nomura because now he's fueled by spite to put Versus
He's so
13 in
mad.
all of his games.
Oh, he's so mad. He's so mad that Versus 13 got canned. Oh my god. He didn't get to make his musical video game or fucking whatever else he wanted to make, and now he's just like, fuck you.
The perfect immaculate brave juxtaposition of Aerith's Amazing Ballad, you know, and then almost immediately after you get Scotch and Koch's rap battle.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. It's perfect.
Perfect parallel going on there.
It's fantastic.
Immaculate. The fact that Rufus is really into doing a wrestling
totally
promo.
cool with doing the wrestling promo entry.
We are one PC release away from people going into SFM to have him do the Vince McMahon
walk.
strut.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's
I think it's
happening.
really funny that Rufus is just identically Xenos, but is less self-conscious about being a complete dork.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
it rules.
the fact that it was quite simply a lack of time and modeling effort to the fact that Rufus did not walk out in wrestling like spandex.
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my god.
Like just
He
shirtless
would,
and just
though.
like strutting out there and getting into the ring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It rules. It's so good.
It's like I said, Rufus takes himself very seriously. But if Avalanche were on roller skates trying to get away from him, he would also put on roller skates.
he would put the roller skates on as well. Yeah, absolutely.
This is like a joke.
Yeah,
He
it's
would
fine.
have rocket-powered roller skates that he has actually already had ready for like 6 months and has been waiting for an excuse
He's
to
just been
use.
waiting for a reason to use them. Yeah.
He's got Shinra money. He just
There
has.
are-
You have no idea how much of that shit he is lying around.
There are more similarities between Dick Dastardly and Rufus Shinra than he would like you to believe.
Oh man, and I'm just so ready for part 3. I'm fucking dying.
I'm so happy with everything that this game does and how much joy you can feel was put into making it.
Yeah, it's just fun. Everybody is just having a good time. They're doing like
There's
those little touches of like walking around Calm and me going like, this is just the map. This
Yeah.
is just the map, but they've just kind of fancied it up a little.
it carries over from Kingdom Hearts, but it's just like the whole game is proud to be what it is,
Sure,
and it
absolutely.
is
It
not
knows what it
afraid
is.
of showing emotion and forming genuine like connections with the player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is- we-
it's just
we-
so
it-
like
it's-
it's just so like happy to be exactly what it is, and it's just having a good time the whole time.
We made this game for you,
Right,
and we want you to enjoy every second of it.
and it's awesome. Like it's just so much fun.
You know what? I
start to
feel like it is, you know, very emblematic of FF7 Rebirth is the Haunted Mansion Hotel.
You mean the greatest location in
Because
video
that-
game history? Yeah.
Because if you were to build the Haunted Mansion Hotel in real life, you got to be committed to the guest experience, like 100%,
Mhm.
right? Because if it's even off by a little bit, it all falls apart,
Sure.
right?
Right.
It's the same philosophy that went into making the game that it's in. It's like if
Right,
everything here is
exactly.
not perfect for the audience, it's going to fall apart.
If you don't commit to it 100%, then nobody else is gonna buy into it either. Like, why should we care about it? And like all of your schmaltzy emotional stuff that normally wouldn't hit.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't buy into it 100%, why in God's name would we?
Yeah.
Right? And fucking Rebirth is like, no, we are on board.
To the point where even the bored college student, the part-timer college student, had to put on zombie makeup because that was all the effort she could put into her life.
That's right, and it rules. It's just so good. I love Rebirth. My complaints about Rebirth are so minor as to not even matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally, why did we have to fight Sephiroth a second time? And like, I wish Genova was more of a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
But it's like, it was still really cool because they all did a big team attack.
They did a big team attack.
And you got to have Cloud and Zack fight Sephiroth. Like,
you had Cloud and Zack fight Sephiroth, and it fucking rules. And it is interesting because they used Bizarro Sephiroth as like the big monster form of Sephiroth at the end of the video game, which makes me think like, oh, so we are gonna do something like, we're still almost certainly gonna get Safer Sephiroth at the end of part 3 because it's Safer Sephiroth. It's iconic, right? We still haven't done a fight with the full Sephiroth theme, right? Like the true One-Winged Angel theme, where like with like the chanting and all that shit. It has been, I think, the whole game. It has been either been like remixes or it's been only instrumentals. We haven't gotten the full like Latin chanting shit. Yeah. So like we're still gonna get that, but like the stuff surrounding that is probably gonna be different to some extent because Bizarro Sephiroth is here at the end of this video game. So like even that has its utility, right? Like it's like kind of a wink and a nudge going like, yeah, no, this is not going to end exactly the way you think it's going to end, right?
Right.
We got something fun planned.
Yeah. And so yeah, my like I said, my complaints are so mild. I don't like Cosmo Canyon. That's my thing. I don't like Cosmo Canyon in this video game. That's my biggest thing.
It's not
hippie crunchy enough.
No, it's not
too Scholar Town
enough.
It's too much of like Elf City Scholar Tourist Town.
It's too.
I don't like Cosmo
too mist for me.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
I there's a lot of things that in this video game that have faded into the background of my memory. I am never going to forget the improbable guy in the wheelchair at the top of the mountain that has absolutely no wheelchair accessibility whatsoever.
No.
It is. Cosmo Canyon is too white and not white enough. Does that make sense?
Cosmo Canyon, like the OG Cosmo Canyon, feels like a hippie trailer park in the Grand Canyon, right? Like it feels like a weird hippie commune. This is like a Disney World elf town. Yeah. You know? And it's just too fucking like cutesy.
I would forgive it more if they had literally just went, no, this is actually a change we made for Rebirth. There's just elves here now.
Yeah.
I did like the gag of when Tifa speaks out of turn, they punish her by sending her to classes.
They did send her to classes, and that's funny. But like, it's like Canyon, OG Cosmo Canyon has such a fun, crunchy vibe that like this game just doesn't.
There was the juxtaposition of going into the planetarium with Bugenhagen and getting that thing was like a shock because it's like you would not expect that kind of thing to be in Cosmo Canyon. Mm-hmm. But if it's a scholar town, then it's like, oh well, yeah, obviously they have a big auditorium like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a little bit too New Charlian for me.
It's too New Charlian for me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm just no, thank you.
But
that's I guess that's like my literal only complaint. Every other part of Rebirth is perfect. Yeah, so it's fine. Anything else, folks, from the two of you, from Saturn and Ota?
I said my piece. I don't know. I think
piece?
I'm sort of been kind of on low participation. That's just because like I don't really have the context of the original game to
Sure.
compare it to.
Yeah.
That's
Yet.
Well, that will
Yet.
change tomorrow.
Yes, I'll finally. We're gonna cover I'm sure we're going to manage to cover the entirety of Midgar inside of like 1, maybe 2 streams.
We'll
Depending on how
it'll
late-
2 at the most.
We'll see. We'll see if I decide like if Ben goes to bed and I'm like I'm gonna still keep playing because Ben knows this video game back and forth.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm
I mean,
gonna
if I
still
go
keep
to bed,
playing.
the stream stops.
Right. Oh, that's right, because it's on your computer. Never
Yeah.
mind. Well, that's fine.
It'll be
I
2
will probably be
streams.
able to. I'll be able to crush it out in 2 streams almost.
Yeah.
Look, worst case scenario, just stream it for me, and everyone else has to.
That's right.
Has to put up.
Everybody else
with
can
No,
come
you know what?
kick rocks.
It'll not even 2 streams. It'll be a stream and a half.
Oh yeah.
We'll
No,
get
I'll
out of
be done
Midgar
with it
within
soon.
5 hours.
Oh yeah. So yeah, please
Yeah.
look forward to that. And just
Yeah.
more Final Fantasy VII in general because we're also gonna do our Queen's Blood World Tour.
Mm-hmm. At some point, and then do the proto relics as well.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Oates?
I find it really suspicious that they had all of those mechanics for Zack.
Oh, he's coming back.
Oh yeah, we're
Like-
playing a Zack later. Don't worry about it.
Like, there's no way he's not going to be like the 9th mysterious party member, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
he's
Oh yeah,
coming
for
back.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Even if it's just
that was
that's
a
a given.
move set. That was not
that
a.
was like a moveset.
Like,
That
I'm
was-
still thinking about it, and it's just like, they've got to be bringing him back.
Oh, yeah.
That's way
'Cause,
too
like-
much of a budget for literally one 5-minute fight.
right.
Because like Sephiroth had a tutorial move set, right?
Right. Very very limited.
Zack had a move set.
He had mechanics.
Like when you in bringing back Kingdom Hearts, when you play as like Riku and like Kingdom Hearts 2, he's got like 4 buttons, right? And that's it
Right.
because you're only playing for a second. Like Zack had
Yeah.
stuff.
He had stuff going on. Exactly. So yeah, Zack is for sure coming back.
I just think it's suspicious. That's all.
That's
Yeah.
all.
That's all.
It's curious.
It's insane. It's insane that Hojo now seeing Rebirth remake Vincent Valentine. It's even more insane that Hojo cucked that man. His waist is just
Lucretia
so
has the
tiny.
worst fucking taste
It's incredible.
imaginable.
It's
Have we
incredible.
considered that she is just an old man sexual?
Maybe so. Maybe
I mean,
she's like
even
the-
then, you can do way better than
I know.
Hojo.
Like-
he's just
like-
so greasy.
Like Vincent's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just so greasy. So I don't know. That's my final thought is that
Yeah.
Vincent, it's incredible, to make Vincent Valentine still like super hot in the year of our Lord 2024 when
With-
like that character design is so like memed
90s.
on. Yeah, it's so 90s and so memed on. But then they show you Vincent the first time, you're like, oh no, I'm 13.
Oh, I get it. Look at that waist.
His waist is so small. Yeah, that's what
for
it
other
is.
men to grab, like
For other
Sid.
men
Yeah.
to grab. For me to grab. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's all I got.
All right, that'll do it for us then. Thank you to DJ Cutman for using background music. You can follow us all on our various social medias and whatnot. You can email us at thegorgepodcast.gmail.com. You can join our Discord and you can hang out with us and talk more about Final Fantasy VII. And pop into our streams when we're streaming Final Fantasy VII Classic starting tomorrow or starting today. If you're
Yeah.
if you somehow managed to listen to this entire episode before the stream starts, then how'd you do that?
How did you do that?
But also- You know, enjoy the rest of the streams.
That's right.
And again, patreon.com/slash the gorge, where we just did the wizards, and we got something very fun for this month because Saturn picked a good one.
I
I'm
was
so
insistent
excited.
upon violence, and I hope that
I'm so excited.
And then we'll do some additional content later on.
That's right.
But yeah, that'll do it for us.
Good night, everyone.
Do we have anything?
Oh, God.
Fuck you, Junaka.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Fuck you, Jinaka.
Fuck Yuji Naka.
He's been out of jail, and the first thing he did was decide to like dunk on another Square
He tried
Enix
to
employee.
say that one of the Square Enix employees who presented evidence against him fabricated that evidence. Come on, dude.
He gets out, first thing he tries to do is snitch.
He's cope and seethe, dude. No.
All I'm saying is that Nomura is the one who did the whistle blow because he is very
he's
quiet
so-
and very powerful.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Never cross. The real moral of the story is never cross Tetsuya Nomura.
Remember, that man never forgets an idea.
Good night,
Good night, everyone.